John Cena's second title reign was pretty notable due to the fact that he became an even bigger star due to the feud with Triple H. He went through hell at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Luckily, he came back in one piece. This title reign is very memorable due to the fact that the fans really hated Cena during this time period. Not everyone, obviously. I mean, it was a mixed reaction, but it was loud and clear. Like, I was just looking at some old forum posts. The amount of stuff they said about Cena, they hated his guts. They hated him. They despised him. They despised everything that he stood for. And for context, once again, Cena slowly began ditching the rapper character in favor of more of a superhero type. Problem with this is the fans didn't like it. They slowly took away the things fans liked about Cena, and that's why he was hated. As for me, probably the biggest Cena fan at this point. It was my favorite by a country mile. Whoever came second was so far down below. Like, it's John Cena's up here, Batista's down below. That's how it was. So now let's start off right where we left off on that Edge video, Royal Rumble. Now that Cena's reclaimed his gold, Edge immediately came knocking on his door for a rematch. The Rated R Superstar status quo took a bit of a hit at this point, as many believed that he was just a transitional champion. He refused to be called that, and he seemed like a raging lunatic, as you could see here. As for how the match went, well, first of all, it ended with the most random finish, but it fits Edge's character if you think about it. During the match, the Rated R Superstar tried cheating to get the victory, and once Cena had momentum on his side, Lita realized something. She realized that if Edge wins by DQ, then he gets a second rematch by default. So she tried handing him the title, but once Cena hoisted Edge on his shoulders, she made a judgment call and blasted her boyfriend with the title, resulting in a disqualification victory for him. It was a confusing ending to the commentary team, but if you know Edge and Lita's mindset, it made sense. The following week, Mr. McMahon made the rematch, but it will feature a special referee, and that special referee will be of Cena or Edge's choosing. Edge once again tried pimping out his girlfriend for the 100th time in order to get a slight advantage in the title match. See, this is what gets me about Edge. The fact that he'd sell out his girl in order to get a small advantage for his title match. It wasn't even the fact that he's gonna win the title outright if he gives his girl out, if he pimps her out. It's just to get that one, even if it was 0.1%, he would do it. Vince admired Edge for showing he would do anything to get an advantage, so he booked Edge and Lita against John Cena and Maria. Meanwhile, Maria was nervous about that match. She already got beaten up by Lita earlier on. She didn't want to go through it again. So Cena decided, you know what, let's silence her, and he kissed her. Later that night, the mixed tag match went on as planned. Lita accidentally went for a hurricanrana during the match on her boy. She then realized Cena's the legal person, and so she tried getting out of the sticky situation by flashing, but before she knew it, she was on the receiving end of a spear. Maria tagged herself in, and they won the match. Immediately afterwards, Cena announced a special guest referee. It was the GOAT special referee, Mick Foley. Edge was about to blow up, Mick came out casually, and it seemed like the cards were in John Cena's favor. As for how that match went, Mick Foley was an impartial official, but Edge didn't like it. Why? Well, when Foley was down, Lita interfered. She once again tried playing it casual, and Edge had the match won after blasting Cena with the title. Foley struggled to enter the ring because he was a bit dizzy, but once he did, Cena kicked out at 2. Edge then made the mistake of going for a crossbody as Cena caught him and connected with the FU to retain the title. So he blamed Foley for the loss, and due to this, he speared him, and that's a story for another day. Meanwhile, there was an ongoing tournament to determine John Cena's opponent for WrestleMania 22. 3 men managed to make it to the final. Big Show and Triple H made it after a draw, and it was Triple H, RVD, and the Big Show. By the looks of it, the crowd was certainly rooting for RVD, and it would have been a weird main event, but his crowning moment was delayed as Triple H managed to catch him off guard with a pedigree to punch his ticket to WrestleMania. Right then, John Cena decided to pay his WrestleMania opponent a visit. Now, looking back, this match was hyped and teased for months. Other than this segment, Cena and Triple H never interacted at all, except for this backstage segment. I don't think they even mentioned each other by name beforehand, like in a promo, John Cena and Triple H. I don't think they even did that. So fans were certainly excited to see them face off. Also, for context, the story of this one, the de facto story of the main event, was old school versus new school. The guy that knows how to wrestle versus the hack who can't even structure a scientific wrestling match. That's what it seemed like in my eyes. They were trying to say, like, John Cena, he ain't good. Like, he wasn't exactly a good wrestler at this point, and he was just described as a brawler. And this match and storyline was going to be a test to see if he's a success. The following week, Triple H and John Cena went face to face. At this point, the game had gained some good faith from the fans, not all of them, but some. This segment was initially an interview, but Coach set Cena up in order for him to confront Triple H. He asked Cena sarcastically if he, the champ, thinks he could beat him the game. Cena believed it was too forward of a question, and he sort of beat around the bush. He said that Triple H probably didn't look twice in his direction 4 years earlier, but now he's going to get the chance to face him at WrestleMania 22 for the WWE Championship. Cena admitted that he didn't have his resume, like the game's resume. He doesn't have that same respect from the fans. The only thing he's got is this, the title. Triple H's response, he apologized for not being scared of a man whose one move is pumping up his Reeboks. Damn, he seriously had to go there. He also called Cena a transitional champion, and sure, Cena's tough. He's like Rocky Balboa. He's got passion, heart, desire, and dedication, and despite not being a very good wrestler, he always finds a way to win. He let Cena know that Rocky may have beat the bad guys in the movie, but here, that isn't the case. The champ then took a jab at Triple H, saying that he won a bet over what the game, has to say. Not because he's repetitive, although that might be the case too, because everyone that preceded Triple H said the same thing. He asked the challenger, what makes you so different? Triple H tried to get Cena to spill the truth and admit that he, Triple H, isn't like most guys. Cena did admit he isn't the company's best athlete. Triple H, yeah, sure, he's a 10-time champion, but despite this, he ain't afraid of Triple H, simply put. And on that list of guys that the game went through, there's one name that isn't on there, and that's going to remain the same. And that's John Cena, and that's a fact. All of a sudden, Vince interrupted and he booked both men in a tag team match for Saturday night's main event against the SmackDown main event. Randy Orton, Kurt Angle, and Rey Mysterio. So, it's a handicap match. This announcement caught both men off guard, and it was definitely going to be a struggle to go through with that match. Beforehand, however, both men were set to sign the contract for their impending bout at WrestleMania. Like I said earlier, the hate for Cena was starting to increase gradually, while the hate for Triple H was slowly diminishing. It wasn't like everyone became a Triple H fan overnight. It was just a lesser evil type situation, like Cena or Triple H. The fans choose Triple H because, maybe it's because he knows how to wrestle, because Cena's basic, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a bit of both. Triple H praised Cena's performance the previous week and how he FU'd the Big Show. But he wasn't worried. Why? Because he believed everything was a formality, a foregone conclusion that the WWE Championship comes back home. The game then signed that contract for the match, and all that was left was John Cena's signature, but before I could finish saying those words, he already signed. The game then continued his lecture and admitted that whenever both parties signed, he brings out a sledgehammer. But this time around, he isn't doing that. Why? Because Cena was already at a big enough disadvantage. The champ finally responded. He laughed all of this off before stating that if Triple H did go through with it, he would have taken that hammer and stuck it straight up his ass. Then all of a sudden, Big Show and Kane interrupted. For context, it was because they lost their respective matches to both men. All of a sudden, Triple H brought out the sledgehammer, proving that what he said earlier was essentially a lie. Before we knew it though, Chris Masters and Carlito attacked the tag champions, so Vince booked a 6-man tag team match. Triple H, Carlito, and Chris Masters versus John Cena, Kane, and the Big Show. As for how that went, those two bastards brought in chairs to cause a DQ. Big Show and Kane went after them, and this left John Cena alone in the ring. The game realized this was his chance to fight the champ, but before he could, freaking Randy Orton, a SmackDown star, comes from out of the crowd, RKO's John Cena, and leaves. Triple H enjoyed seeing his enemy down on the mat. The Saturday night's main event, both teams were quite reluctant to team with one another, and their egos were too big enough to allow the match to conclude in non-controversial fashion. It seemed like Orton and Triple H were kind of buddies. Angle was RKO'd by his own damn teammate, and despite receiving a pedigree from his own teammate, Cena rolled up Orton to win the match, and Triple H's reaction, well, here it is. He's like, damn it, again. Basically, story of this one, Triple H wanted Cena down, but his wishes didn't come true, and instead, Cena looked stronger than before. Heading into the event, both men went through some rigorous training in order to prepare for the match. From John Cena's perspective, it seemed like Cena's final test. Like, sure, he's the champion, but he's yet to face the game. And if he beats the game, it means he succeeded. He wasn't relying on his wrestling skills because that will get him nowhere. But he's going to rely on fighting his way to victory. He's resilient and ready to go. As for Triple H, he believed he was the standard bearer, the measuring stick of what a true main eventer was. He's been to the main event of WrestleMania before, and he's been there, done that. And while Cena's talented, he's got way more experience than him. His heart is black. He has no remorse, and he's going to take that title. That's what I took away from this feud. Now, the commentary team's perspective of this was street versus high class, I guess. Basically, Cena was never one to receive the highest level of education, training facilities, or any of that kind of stuff. He had to work from the bottom to get where he was, while Triple H was one to receive everything and get everything he ever wanted in life. And the match against Cena basically is going to be a walk in the park. It wasn't like he was trying to undermine Cena. He just certainly believed he was miles better than him. As for the match itself, first of all, both men had a special entrance. Triple H debuted the King of Kings song. He had this entrance that lasted for like 5 minutes. Cena, he represented the classic mobsters, gangsters of Chicago. There was this guy, but you definitely already know that. Cena brought out a Tommy gun, and the match, it relied heavily on the crowd. It felt different to other WrestleMania main events. Like, say this match happened elsewhere, I don't think it would have been as good as it was. I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. That's not to say I dislike the match. It's actually one of my favorite WrestleMania matches ever. Why? Well, this was the first DVD I ever purchased. Second, the story. Triple H was out to discipline John Cena. He was teaching them the basics of wrestling. The fans despised the champion and loved Triple H, which was funny to see. And even JR was kind of on the game's side. As a result of this not-so-nice reception, Cena stepped up, but despite his efforts, Triple H managed to slow down the pace, and he somewhat embraced this newfound adulation. The fans even cheered when Triple H brought out a sledgehammer and used it against the good guy, John Cena. Both men kicked out of their respective moves, and when that wasn't enough, Cena tried a crossbody that didn't connect. Triple H tried the pedigree, but that wasn't to be, as he found himself locked in the STFU. The fans were waiting for that moment the game escapes, but it never happened. Instead, he tapped out. The fans were freaking shocked. Cena completely silenced them, and they didn't boo. That's how shocked they were. Now, why was this so unexpected? Well, I did some digging, and it turns out Triple H was actually supposed to win the title. Rumor has it, keyword rumor has it, because Cena wasn't really connecting with the fans as well as they hoped he was. The fans were certainly clamoring for that Triple H victory. They were begging for a Cena heel turn, but it didn't happen. So when Triple H tapped out, it caught them very, and I mean very, off guard. Not everyone, once again. Some people believed Cena was going to win, but that's what many thought. The next night on Raw, John Cena came out to address the events of WrestleMania 22. Most of the fans booed while he had this little grin on his face. He then shouted out that the champ is still here, taking a slight jab at the haters. He was speaking about how capturing this and defending it night in and night out means you rise to the occasion. Then Triple H interrupted. "You tapped out" chants intensified, and he put his hand out there for a handshake before leaving Cena hanging there. The game admitted his wrongdoing, stating that he tapped out because he underestimated the champ, but he promised that it will never happen again, and he straight up asked for another title shot. All of a sudden, Edge interrupted. He straight up told Hunter that he should hop to the back of the line, and someone else should take his spot. Someone that actually won at WrestleMania, He also said that he's undefeated at WrestleMania, to which Triple H responded asking, well, how many of those matches were main events? He then suggested Edge hang out with the other curtain jerkers while the main event guys handle their business. Edge's response, he said that he's a main eventer and he doesn't need to dress like Conan the Barbarian. He also brought up the victory against John Cena, to which Triple H responded stating that he took a nap and missed the entire thing. Edge then made fun of the game tapping out. Triple H suggested knocking down his teeth tonight, and Cena meanwhile tried booking a one-on-one #1 contenders match between those two. The Rated R Superstar refused to compete, citing his injuries, but he did want to team up with Triple H though to face Cena's bling bling ass. The game liked this idea, while the champ, he teased walking out on the challengers before accepting the match. Due to the match later that night, it resulted in 2 other matches featuring 3 of those guys. Cena was the first man with a disadvantage as he lost to Triple H and Edge on this night. After the first handicap match, it was confirmed that Cena will defend the title at Backlash against both Edge and Triple H. The second handicap match saw Edge face both Cena and Triple H, but this time around, the champ returned the favor to Triple H before forcing Edge to tap out to the STFU. The final match saw Edge and Cena team up, and this time around, it was Edge who beat Triple H clean in the middle of the ring, and I believe this was the first time Edge ever pinned the game. So at this point, every single one of them had a victory under their belts. But before they clashed at Backlash, they were forced to face the Spear Squad. Triple H and Cena worked in unity, but then it erupted later on. Edge and Lita watched on with a smile on their faces as Raw went off the air. Now, the match at Backlash, sublime. It was as violent as expected, and I already covered the entire match in this video. But long story short, it was dramatic, bloody, entertaining. There was always some kind of action, and if you've never watched it, I certainly believe you enjoy it. Hell, if you already watched it a while ago, you'll still like it. Anyways, the game brought in a sledgehammer. He runs into a spear, and it's Edge who grabs it. Cena hoists him on his shoulders, but Triple H is there with a low blow. He attempts the pedigree, but it's not to be, and he ends up losing. Right then, Triple H, like a sore loser, destroys everyone in sight before doing the DX crotch chop. Following this, Cena didn't really have that much competition. Triple H was still there, though, but he wasn't much of a threat, and after that Texas Tornado title match, which Triple H failed to win, nobody knocked on Cena's door. That is until a certain someone knocked, scratch that, kicked his door. On the May 22nd, 2006 episode of Raw, John Cena just finished dealing with Chris Masters when Rob Van Dam interrupted. The crowd was weirdly enough quiet. I don't understand why. I believe it was because they seen RVD earlier. And Van Dam then informed the champ that he's got a title shot. It was known that RVD's got a briefcase and all that stuff, but what was unknown was when he cashes in, the date. He said that if he was to cash in here, then he'd probably be screwed over by the system. Instead, he's going to cash in at the one place where he's very comfortable. A place where the conditions work extremely well in his favor. June 11th at One Night Stand. Cena was shook, and RVD, he was right. You know why? Well, throughout the years, RVD, whenever he received a title shot, he never outright lost clean, I believe. One time, Ric Flair screwed him over. And the fact that he was a ECW star, well, that wasn't going to sit well with the company. And they think of screwing him over, basically, in storyline, I guess. They went nose to nose, and it was on. Left and rights all over the place. And in the end, after Chris Masters distracted him, Cena received a briefcase Fandaminator. The fans booed him, which is once again funny to see. Jerry Lawler was perplexed at the fact that RVD can just make the match happen at ECW One Night Stand. Now, At this point, RVD had yet to win a world championship, neither in ECW or WWE. Many considered him to be the greatest wrestler to not win a world championship. Is that a fact at the time? Subjective. Also, a few or many hated Cena so damn much. The only reason they were watching was because the possibility of him losing the title or turning heel, and they sort of indicated he would in the build-up. I mean, he was rougher on the mic and in the ring. On the June 5th, 2006 episode of Raw, both John Cena and Rob Van Dam were set to sign the contract for their matchup at ECW One Night Stand. Throughout the segment, RVD was showboating, and he informed Cena that it's 6 days until that title is around his waist, and it's going to be renamed the ECW World Title. He was hoping that Cena was prepared to face the very best RVD, and he notified Cena that when he signs that contract, he's going to walk into a rabid fan base that cannot wait to boo him right out the freaking door. Heyman said this too, and a couple of other things about ECW's passionate fan base, and as for Cena, it was all nothing to him. He called himself an ECW original fan. He had the utmost respect for what ECW did to the industry. And as for RVD, Cena wasn't scared of those rabid fans, and he certainly wasn't scared of him. He said that he fears nothing and regrets less, and sure, he's been booed, but it doesn't really do much in the grand scheme of things. Cena concluded this statement saying that his target is Rob Van Dam. They shook hands when Heyman showed his shady side. He informed Cena that his first taste of ECW occurs right now. It's just a sample. And out came Balls, Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, Terry Funk, all those guys came out. And Cena didn't really care. He laughed it off and he said that if he was going to go down, he's going to go down fighting. Obviously, he got his ass kicked and it's clear. Sabu even came on, he drove a steel chair right onto Cena, who was sitting on a table. The Raw guys then ran in there, but the damage was already done. Heading into the event, Cena discussed his title match. He said that this title has been held by many legends, and if he loses, it's gone. It's rechristened the ECW Championship. But if he wins, he'll be recognized as the biggest GOAT. As for the fans, the ECW ones, he said that they're the most ruthless, aggressive fan base there is, and sure, he could stand here and complain, or he can do what he's gonna do, which is put his head down and fight like a man. He shouted at Sabu that he's officially pissed off the raw, fire-breathing SOB. He then proceeded to kick his ass, but not before receiving some punishment himself. Sabu, though, he was FU'd and he almost tapped out, but Big Show and a bunch of guys, Raw, SmackDown, ECW, interfered. As for the match at ECW One Night Stand, for me, my favorite John Cena match up to this point. Not necessarily because of the action, that goes to Judgment Day 2005, but the entire atmosphere, the feeling. RVD was loved and adored by the ECW fans. There was this thing that was funny as hell to me as a kid. I don't know why. And the fact that John Cena was practically the Antichrist. Right when they heard the music, they were like, this little bastard, he just didn't fit the ECW image. And initially, he ignored the hate. It made for a legendary image, as you can see here. That sign in itself is one of the best we ever seen. Because if RVD lost, who knows, maybe they would have rioted. And Cena, they just gave him a hard time every chance they could get. He throws his t-shirt, it's back in there. He just wanted the shirt away, and he was patiently waiting for someone to take it, and then this guy. I mean, seriously, they should have brought this guy in the ring. He really showed the most hate for Cena, and RVD relished all of this. They threw toilet paper, FU, Cena chants intensified. And throughout the match, Cena tried his damnedest to piss off the ECW faithful. He used that sign to precisely aim at RVD, and slowly he worked as the outright heel. RVD himself sacrificed his body in order to get the W, but this guy, he just couldn't be stopped. Cena continued to stick it to the fans, hitting a 5-knuckle shuffle. He posed, and nothing that he could do that night could elicit a positive reaction, nothing. Near the end, Cena began to silence the rabid crowd, and it seemed like he had it wrapped up. He FU'd RVD right out of the ring when an unknown man speared him through the table. It was then revealed to be Edge. The fans chanted, "Thank you, Edge," and this was the same man that was calling them some not so nice things. He was calling them virgins, he's calling them internet nerds and a bunch of stuff, but for this one, they're like, you know, thank you, Edge. RVD was unaware of what went on, and he went up top, boom, 5-star frog splash. The ref didn't wake up, so Paul Heyman took advantage of the ECW rule and counted the pinfall himself. 1, 2, 3. Finally. Honestly, this is a perfect match. It's not the action that makes it special. It's the rabid crowd wanting Cena's head. They threw toilet paper at him, his own shirt, and the only thing that was missing was a pig's head. The situation in itself also makes it special. RVD never won the title, but this night, the night full of wild moments, is when RVD is finally crowned WWE Champion. That's what makes it the perfect match in my eyes. It seemed like Christmas for the ECW brand, and it may have been bittersweet for little me at the time to see all this because Cena was my favorite. But right now, I can acknowledge this as one of the best damn moments of that era. It had a special feeling all around, and I can't stress it enough. If you've never watched it before, what the hell are you waiting for, man? I watched it a million times, and it still gets the same feeling out of me. Yeah, that's what I gotta say about this match. It's probably my favorite match during this title reign because of the atmosphere, the situation, everything. So yeah, on the first episode of the newly relaunched ECW, RVD was introduced to the ring by Paul Heyman, who held a hidden title belt in his hands. It was clear that it was the ECW title. Edge then interrupted and he came out with Lita. Test said that Edge is his new hero because of the events that occurred 2 nights earlier. The Rated R Superstar told the new champ that he respects him. He then mentioned that they both won the briefcase and the title, and then he said that it's an honor to face Van Dam and tear the house down at Vengeance. He then shook his hand. It was all good. Edge proceeded to spear RVD, showing his true colors. The Rated R Superstar left through the crowd and he bumped into John Cena, who then kicked his ass. Van Dam and Cena took turns in kicking his ass, and Edge then pushed RVD into Cena and he low-blowed him before running off. Cena then dropped Heyman. This was the first segment of ECW and it was already a miss. Cena's problems with the ECW brand stemmed from the way his match with Rob Van Dam turned out. His attitude was significantly changed and he was almost unhinged. This version of Cena was pretty fresh because he was sporting a black eye and had a lot of fury behind him. It stands out because he wasn't really doing anything out there for the past year. He was going after the ECW brand, and after Sabu dropped him through the announce table and left him a scarred and bloody mess, found some enjoyment in receiving some of that ECW extreme style, to the point where the black eye visited the locker room with 2 things: his balls and his word, and despite their animosity, the men found some respect in this encounter. The Lumberjacks are, of course, their lower card talent. This match was pretty fun. It's a shame that it lasted for 6 minutes because there could have been more done. Cena and Sabu was a great matchup. They had 2 different styles, but it worked so well. Like Cena usually has all the time. Out of all the matches, he wrestles for only 6 minutes here, when it's actually good. It had to be this one that they made 6 minutes. Sabu tapping is kind of funny, because you guys know how it was in ECW. This guy would die before he taps out, and he also took a rough FU through the table. But despite this fun match, it was quick, fast-paced. The Lumberjacks did their jobs well, and it's almost unfortunate that they never had more time, because I know for a fact that these two would have stole the show if they had 5 more minutes to go in there and have this match. It's unfortunate, it's a shame. In the back, RVD felt like giving Cena a title shot. He had a lot of respect for him walking to the ECW locker room, and Van Dam acknowledged that Cena might be slated for never receiving his title shot, but tomorrow, they're having the match. That match was decent. I watched it a long time ago, and I don't even remember much. It ended with Edge interfering and laying out both men. On the July 3rd, 2006 episode of Raw, Edge, RVD, and John Cena were set to face off in a triple threat tag team match. I assume had this went down, it would have been RVD and Sabu, Edge and Foley, and Cena Flair. Not sure though. The Radar Superstar kicked off the show proclaiming the summer to be his, and he couldn't wait for Tuesday. Why? Because he was going to win his title back and defend it at Saturday night's main event. He compared Van Dam to the Philadelphia Phillies, saying he's bland, overrated, and lacks any heart. John Cena, on the other hand, he's like the Eagles. Similar to them at the time, he's good, he's not good enough to win the title. Damn. Edge even compared himself to Terrell Owens, saying he just wants to get the hell out of there. John Cena refused to let Edge continue the promo and brought the fight. Van Dam followed up and pulled the biggest babyface move you'll ever see. He did the stupidest thing in kayfabe, basically. He pushed the title match forward to tonight in Philadelphia. This was after Edge whined about not being included in the match. He felt that the title match would be null and void, and so RVD knew he was going to interfere. So Saturday night's main event was gone. It was on Raw. Van Dam was a fighting champion, although we all know why this match was booked. The topic of the match itself, it was good. Not Backlash 2006 main event or anything like that. But when you're looking at it from that time, it's cool to see a match on TV. Especially a title match of this magnitude. Similar to the previous week, it felt like John Cena's night. He FU'd everybody, but from out of nowhere, Edge blasted him in the face with the title before covering Van Dam to become the new WWE champion. JR was pissed as hell, as were some of the fans, and this title win was well deserved. Edge was probably the best performer throughout the first half of the year. He was always delivering inside and outside the ring, and after this, of course, Rob Van Dam was suspended for the marijuana bust. I don't think his title run would have continued past Saturday night's main event, although that may be a different story with the ECW title. But yes, Edge was now a second-time champion. His hard work had been rewarded. Instead of bragging to everybody and their mother about the title victory, Edge preferred to sit down on commentary and do just that the following week. This was also to scout his opponent for Saturday, John Cena. RVD was not going to get his rematch because he was kayfabe suspended by Paul Heyman. He was hyping up the match, talking about how there will be a celebration for the title, and in the ring, Shelton proved to be a tough challenge for Cena. But as expected, he tapped out in the end. Edge was raging, seething over this, but he didn't have enough time to leave as Cena just dived into him. Unfortunately for him, the attack didn't end so well and he took a spear. And the new champion was disgusted by the city and decided, you know, I'm out of here, I'm going to a hotel. You'd obviously think this was the end of the night for these two, but it wasn't even close. Also, what the hell is this tag team? Like, I just don't understand this at all. This is not the video for that. Meanwhile, Edge ended up having one too many drinks. But from out of nowhere, John Cena intruded on him and gave him a beating in his own damn hotel. He tossed him through glass, fed him some food, and even whacked him in the face with the title, and it's definitely one of the more iconic outside of the arena moments. These don't happen very often nowadays. In the 2000s, it used to happen once in a while, and I always thought it's cool. It gives off more of an unpredictable anything could happen feel, and it's a damn shame that this doesn't happen more often. With regards to Saturday night's main event, this was the first time in 14 years that the WWE title was defended on the show. That's of course due to a 14-year absence, but we don't like to talk about that. It's a title match, so you know what's up. After the commercial break, the match was pretty damn competitive. There was this botched superplex that did somewhat work in the champion's favor, and watching it, the match was extremely short. It felt like they skipped 2/3 of the match. Cena managed to hit the FU, but Lita pulled the referee right out of the ring, and John knew what was up, and Lita tried talking herself out of the situation. Cena locked Edge in the STFU, and on the outside, boom, Lita delivers a slap. This was at a very convenient time. Well, for Edge, it was very inconvenient for John Cena because the champion tapped out. Cena thought he won it, but then the disappointment set in. Hey, that's like watching my team every week. To add insult to injury, Edge speared him. It seemed like the night was over, but Cena dived over the top rope, dropped Edge, and to top it all off, FU'd him off the steps and through the announce table to end the night on top, an enraged man. Very short main event, shorter than Ryback's push in 2012. It was just a way of prolonging the story. For some reason, I expected this one to be a bit longer than it was, but I guess I was wrong. They interacted once more the following week in a tag match, but not much happened, although Edge did blast Cena with a chair. Cena managed to turn it around and score the W, and shortly afterwards it was confirmed that the Rated R Superstar was defending the gold against Mr. Hustle, Loyalty and Respect, at SummerSlam in Boston. The two men didn't do much around here. Edge was promising that this wouldn't happen to him, but it wasn't until August rolled around that the build of SummerSlam kicked in. When I say it was wild, I mean it. You see, Edge was in the business of showing everybody why he was the biggest douche in the WWE. First of all, he angrily interrupted a women's title match. The way he walked out to the ring, you know, it looked like it was something big. It turns out Edge didn't appreciate taking a backseat to everybody else. He also whined on and on and on about how it's unfair that he could possibly lose his title to John Cena on the DQ. And to make matters worse, it's in Boston. And you're wondering, how does this relate to Trish Stratus? You see, he wasn't really being promoted much. Trish just so happened to be on the cover for that month's magazine. Lita preferred to take out the, quote, piece of trash. Hell, Edge, being in I don't give a F mode, wanted to spear her, but Carlito made the save and took the spear instead. John Cena, on the other hand, was out here roasting Edge and Lita like his life depended on it, and to him, you have to earn respect. As for the champion, he had to team up with his girl to face Carlito and Trish Stratus. Once again, Edge managed to outdo himself with a spear on Trish, although he didn't really seem too happy about it, and this led to his victory. Lita pinned her. On the final Raw before SummerSlam, Edge came on a totally opposite mood compared to the previous week. It had become apparent that Edge did something to John Cena's dad, and after learning of the SummerSlam match, the Rated R Superstar said that he wanted to calm down. He wanted to chill, and he did just that by visiting John Cena's city. In particular, his house. He did this funny narration of what he did at the house. The best part for me was when he tossed the wrestling boot saying, since John can't wrestle, I wasn't sure. Then there's Mr. Cena. He bragged to him about SummerSlam before pausing the video. Now, what actually went down didn't require any narration. He said that he was going to beat his son within an inch of his life, and the slap that he gave him. Actually, in 2006, he was flat out a criminal. I don't give a damn what anyone says. He wasn't that evil final boss, but he was something else. As he said, one Cena goes down today, another goes down at SummerSlam. Edge outright admitted that he was the villain. He wore the black hat, and he said that there wasn't going to be any kind of storybook ending. No, because it was going to end with him retaining the title, making it a happy ending for himself. First, sir, and this was one of the more memorable moments from 2006. You don't see a main event heel visiting his challenger's father's house and slapping the living hell out of him, no. You didn't even see this stuff in the Attitude Era off the top of my mind at the moment. Fast forward to the end of the night. John Cena sprints down to the ring, angry as if Edge slapped his dad. Oh yeah, he actually did that. And the intensity was off the charts. The crowd was louder than they were the entire night. Edge was red. It was a chaotic turn of events. So that's the build. Very intense. Edge showed that there's no low that he'd stoop in order to gain an advantage. And he felt that as champion, he had been wronged. From the booking of the matches to the promotion of the shows. Oh, and he just hated John Cena. Like, I remember I couldn't watch Raw for a while at the time, but I always knew what was up with him, and the hatred of him was unparalleled compared to anyone else. Maybe I hated Chris Jericho because I tossed a toy of his away after he turned on John Cena and went after his title. Come to think about it, maybe I hated him a little too much too, but yes, Edge was the ultimate heel magnet at the time, especially if you were a kid. The grinning face he made in that smile, man, I'm starting to get angry right now. As Edge said a while back, he wanted to be the Roddy Piper to John Cena's Hulk Hogan. He wanted to be the true villain, the foil to John Cena. That's basically the feud in a nutshell. Alright, let's talk about the match. Cena aggressively pressed Edge early on. His approach though had its faults, such as here where he went too fast. This led to Edge taking somewhat of an advantage. The challenger was constantly making mistakes, which prevented him from making a proper comeback. The commentary speculated maybe, just maybe, Edge was looking for a count-out victory, and it seemed that way, honestly. His attack was always thwarted, and some of the fans desperately tried rallying John Cena on, and it had seemed to work. He started gaining momentum when all of a sudden Lita made her presence felt. This is when the match really kicked up a notch. They went back and forth, non-stop. Nothing was working for Edge here, and the moment he actually did something, he couldn't capitalize on it. Once they recovered, Edge found himself in the STFU, and slowly the title was being pried away, and it didn't help that Lita was about to use a weapon. Edge did reach the rope, and this is when Lita placed the brass knucks on his hand. The champion just wanted to knock John out, but he almost found himself in the FU hell. Cena was going to go for the double. The crowd was absolutely rabid here, and if a new champion was crowned, they would have exploded. But Edge had other plans. He managed to blast Cena on the back of the head with the knucks, and the sound the knucks made with Cena's neck, wow. He goes to the cover, and JR basically describes what Little Me felt every time Edge won or retained the title from the years of 2006 to 2009. Bastard got away with it once again. Regarding the match itself, it was good. I wouldn't say great or anything like that, but it was clear that their best work had yet to come. That's literally what I could say about this match. You know, if you were going to watch a John Cena and Edge match, like if you had to choose one match, I highly doubt you're going to choose this one. Maybe it is their best singles match outright. I might even admit that, but in terms of top 5 Edge vs. Cena matches, I think it falls a bit short. The next night on Raw, Edge decided it's time for a change. He noticeably came out without the title belt, and it was also a night that Edge waited for his entire life. Why? Because he wanted to glow and tell everybody that they're wrong. He was in a situation where the odds were stacked against him, yet emerged victorious. So basically, he's like John Cena on paper, you know, overcoming the odds. The Rated R Superstar finally addressed the lack of a title, and this was when Lita popped up. In light of erasing John Cena from his life, Edge wanted to remove the final remnant of him by burying the title at sea, and she did just that by tossing the title into the dark body of water. As a result of this, according to Edge, the era of Cena was gone, and it was now the era of Rated R. And from the heavens emerged a Rated R title. I'll get into that in a moment. The champion was looking forward and asked anybody to step up to the challenge, and this is when Jeff Hardy made his return. He was so damn outraged over this and refused to allow Jeff to make his comeback at his expense. His eyes were about to pop out of his face in anger, and he called Matt a no-talent loser, just like Jeff. As a result of this earned him a beating. The Rated R Superstar whined and whined about this to the coach and got himself a match against the charismatic Enigma. During that match, the Doctor of Thugonomics opted to pay a visit to the champion. Cena was enraged and delivered a beatdown straight to the back, and Edge managed to make a run for it, but after the commercial break, Cena's out there trying to toss him into trees, trying to choke him out, and from out of nowhere, he grabbed Edge and said, quote, "Time to swim, kid," and psh, he's in the sea. As a result of this, Edge got sick and was ill for a few days. One hell of a moment. Again, this feud just featured so many memorable moments within like a 2-month time span. There was Edge spearing John Cena through that table. There was Edge stealing the title from him. There was a hotel beatdown. Mr. Cena getting slapped. This is why it was the summer of Cena and Edge. On the topic of the Rated R Championship, Edge hoped they went another way. I quote. When they approached me and said, "We're going to do a Rated R Championship belt," I was like, "Right, let me get to work," Edge recalled. "I got home and drew up this beautiful championship belt. This thing was badass. When I got back, they were like, well, no, we're just going to put your logo in it. Like, that's it." Edge wouldn't want a spinner belt. That to me is the one championship that needs to look like a championship and not somebody's hubcaps. Now, to be honest, I didn't really like his design of the title. Sort of gives off a classic IC title vibe. That's exactly what it looked like. It's a good design on its own, but for the title, I think it's better how they did it in real life. It made sense to me that in storyline, Edge wanted to take what was the John Cena title and turn it into his own, right? That's how I feel about it. The incensed champion wanted Shane McMahon to do something about this, and apparently to him, champions shouldn't be thrown into polluted bodies of water. Edge was so frustrated with John Cena that he wanted him gone. Upon hearing this, he came out. John Cena wasn't really here to fight, however, he still did find time to roast Edge. Oh, and Lita saying she gives everyone happy endings. Hell, Cena even told Shane to pull out a 10 and toss it at her. Now, Cena did have the solution to Edge's woes, and he pulled out a 3-year contract offer from SmackDown. The challenge was very enticing to Edge, and Shane verified the claim. Edge ended up accepting under 2 conditions. 1, match setting. And Edge certainly guaranteed that it wouldn't happen in this dump. The dump that he was referring to was Atlantic City. And number 2, he could choose the match type. John accepted, tried walking out, but Shane didn't appreciate the disrespect. He also came to the defense of Edge and mentioned the whole Long Island Sound incident. He booked him in a match with the returning Chris Masters following this. Edge did appear later on in order to attack Cena and give him a little preview of what he had in store, and the letters were very simple for the match. It was TLC. Edge announced the match for Unforgiven in Toronto, Canada, and it was going to be a match that Cena never had, and he, Edge, never lost. Tables, ladders, and chairs. So it was very similar to the SummerSlam match in the sense that one of these men was going to have a huge advantage. Now, At the time, there was real talk of Cena potentially moving to SmackDown, and looking back, this does make sense. It was going to be his first movie. You had to promote the action scenes. And speaking of the Marine, I gotta show my video for those of you that have never seen it. It's very different to my videos on the main channel. Kicking off Raw in Atlanta, Edge began the John Cena Gets Out of My Life countdown. And the man was very festive. He was very excited to send John Cena to the CW. He also said that CW also stood for Can't Win, so it made sense that Cena was there. He randomly said that the TLC match doesn't suit John because he can't just throw his hands out like a gorilla. Simply put, Cena was out of his element, and before he knows it, Michael Cole will resume his crush on him. From out of nowhere though, John Cena ran in and caught the flying Rated R champion before FUing him through a table, showing that maybe, just maybe, he will fit in TLC. It was so damn intense, and that wasn't even the end of the night for these two, as they faced off in a 6-person tag team match. We got to see a Rated RKO preview, and the Unforgiven opponents did kind of interact, but what stood out from this match was Randy Orton trying to outdo Edge by RKOing Trish Stratus. Ahead of Unforgiven, the two had one final meeting. Before that tag team match could go down, Edge announced that this was Cena's final Raw, and CC was going back to SmackDown. It was befitting that he started rapping again. Edge sounded like he watched a single video on rap, not from a correct source I should note. And the best line for me was when Edge said that Cena's gonna choke worse than the Yankees in 2004. He also said that Cena going to SmackDown and King Booker is like going from Lita to a New York City hooker. This gave off an ENC vibe for me. It just sounded like something he would have done in his earlier career. All that was missing here was Christian. Unlike the previous week, Cena rebounded and gained some momentum ahead of Sunday. Now, I already talked about the match here in great detail, so let's do a loose one here, a very loose one. Sounds stupid to say, but it's basically the match of my early childhood. Word for word, I have that promo memorized. And they really were the Hogan and Piper of the mid-2000s. These guys played their role well. Edge here finally got that welcoming reception that he so desperately sought. All it took was him becoming the most vile, cowardly heel there is. The match itself was basically the climax, the very end of the heated rivalry. I know they faced off weeks later in a cage match, but this was way more intense than that match. These men were whacking each other with chairs, slapping the hell out of each other, and best of all, dropping each other through tables. I can't recommend this match enough if you've never watched it, and for me, there may have been some outstanding matches in 2006, but this was and is the best match of the year for me. The match checks off all the boxes. Violence, check. Drama, check. And best of all was the conclusion. These two were at each other's throats, all in the name of the WWE Championship, but ultimately though, Edge suffered and took an FU through 2 tables off a 16-foot ladder. Cena just showed more aggression compared to Edge. You know, he didn't want to do it, but it was a must if he wanted to win back his title. And that's basically the ending of the match. Edge drove him to the point where he wanted to FU him through a table. What a match that was. Definitely match of the night. Maybe even match of the year. And with that, Edge's title reign was over. It lasted 76 days, and what a 76 days those were. He didn't wrestle a lot, but his segments certainly stood out. Raw ratings with Cena and Edge dominating the top of the program were always well, and of course this had to do with DX returning as well, but Edge's presence is certainly felt. I mean, he was technically the most watched champion in 5 years. He was charismatic, hilarious at times, and of course was a great character and performer. The feud itself was a huge highlight of this era of WWE, and it was unique in the sense that we got to see these two interact in different types of places. We're not the only people that speak well on the feud, as Edge himself had some positive words on it. Sometimes you just stumble upon something that works. If you would have asked me 10 months ago if I thought an Edge/John Cena feud would still be going 10 months later, I probably would have said no, and I bet John would have said the same. But for some reason it works. Wrestling-wise, character-wise, it just works. We're two polar opposites. We are two guys who look, act, from music to style, we're completely opposite. So when we get together, it makes for a cool dynamic. I've been very happy with, especially in today's wrestling climate where things can happen quickly. I've been going at this non-stop for almost 10 months, and to be able to say that these days, we must be doing something right. I agree with that. I mean, this feud lasted on and on for about 10 months, and no one was like, oh, this feud sucked, oh, it's bad, oh, it's No, it was very entertaining throughout the entire thing. The next night on Raw in Montreal, Cena spoke about his title victory. As expected, the champ received a mixed response, mostly negative from the Montreal faithful. Jerry Lawler cited Canada as Bizarro Land due to the reception Cena received, and I don't think it's Bizarro Land, they just didn't like the guy. The fans were so damn loud, for good and for bad. And Cena had yet to utter a single word, but they were still booing and cheering. The new champion proclaimed himself the champ once again as the Montreal crowd continued booing. A limping Rated R superstar interrupted, and he received a positive reception. He called Cena's victory on Unforgiven a fluke, and Cena showed respect to the Rated R superstar before giving the former champion 2 options. Option A, option 1. Go screw himself, or 2, fight like a man. Edge, though, he wasn't feeling a title match in Canada. As a matter of fact, he believed Montreal isn't in Canada, it's the inbred brother of Canada's Montreal. They booed. The crowd turned on Edge, and at this point, there was nobody to cheer for. He continued insulting the crowd before promising to take back the title, but not tonight. John was annoyed over the fact that Edge was still whining about how he took punishment. Oh, I went through 2 tables, where? And he wanted to know, like, why in the hell is Edge out here if he's not fighting? Well, he wanted payback for that TLC match. He lost right in front of his mother sitting in the second row, and he lost the most important thing, his WWE Championship. Edge goaded Cena into a fight, and out came Caden Murdoch. They whooped his ass like a government mule, and this led to DX making the save. So it was once again your favorite match. It was a 6-man tag team match. You know it. Jonathan Coachman came out and booked the main event. The good guys got one over the heels and stood tall to end the night. Seriously though, I'm fed up with 6-man tag matches. The following week though, things went south for the WWE Champion. First of all, Cena was booked to face Lita in a match with one arm tied behind his back. Why was this match made? Well, Edge goaded Cena into it. Obviously, Lita lost due to Edge not being able to interfere, but that's not the point though. After the match, King Booker and his loyal subjects from SmackDown came out. They forced Cena to kiss the King's foot, and after the assaults, Edge had a big smile on his face. Since Cena was very vulnerable, and since he was going to appear on SmackDown later that week, this was the perfect time for Edge to invoke the rematch clause. So he did. Next week on Raw was going to be John Cena versus Edge in a steel cage match for the WWE Championship. There's a reason why they call him the ultimate opportunist. It's clear. I mean, this is why. As for Friday night, it was the first time Cena appeared on SmackDown since June of 2005. He teamed up with Batista and Bobby Lashley to face King Booker and his loyal subjects. Throughout the match, the heels isolated the injured left shoulder, but once he got to tag in Lashley, they ended up winning. Right after the match, though, Edge from out of nowhere speared the hell out of Cena. As for the title match on Raw, John Cena was at a complete disadvantage, but luck was on his side. Lita, who was helping Edge, got ejected. The ref then got knocked down. The chair that was brought in was Edge's wrongdoing, and it was time for the STFU. But Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch ran in there and kind of high-load Cena, kinda. They tried reviving Edge and pulled him to the outside, but DX crashed the party and the whole thing was flipped on its head. Shawn Michaels hit the sweet chin music on Murdoch, who bounced the door right into Edge's face and basically cost him the WWE Championship. So now the champ is off to new challengers. Before he can face anyone for the title, however, he was looking to become the champion of champions. That's how Vince says it. On the season premiere episode of Raw, John Cena kicked off the show. So he's just vibing, discussing the new edition of Raw when King Booker interrupted. Booker took offense to Cena's catchphrase, you know, the champ, but he did, however, acknowledge Cena as a champion before calling himself the champ. So, like, you may be the champ, but I'm the champ, you know. Booker gave Cena a little flashback to the last time they met on Raw, and Le Champion mocked the King with an accent. He reverted to his normal self before challenging the King to a fight. Then the Big Show appeared. He called himself the champion of champions, he insulted both men, and the Big Show put himself over as the most dominant athlete ever, to which Cena acknowledged Andre. Big Show said that he's heard a lot about Andre, and if Andre was here, he would kick his ass. In order to prove his point, he mentioned the movies, his cameo in The Waterboy, and how he did all of those scenes in one take. If you watch The Waterboy, you've seen Captain Insano, right? I mean, he's all over the movie. Booker responded, stating that show was in the movie for no more than 42 seconds, and he said that if you want to see champions that define cinema, you should check out Ready to Rumble. That is in the upper echelon. It's the elite of the elite movies that you will ever see. The other two made fun of him before Cena focused on the topic. He attacked Big Show and initiated a brawl. Since all three champions claimed to be the best, Mr. McMahon had the idea of pitting Raw's champion against the champion of ECW against the champion of SmackDown in order to determine just who will be the champion of champions. That's how he says it. He's crazy. Later that night, for the first time since Cena's been a world champion, he got the chance to face The Undertaker in the main event. Looking back on this match, if there was a perfect time to have this thing go down, I think it could have been WrestleMania 23, but it doesn't really matter because both guys went on to have classics anyway, so yeah. But it is a missed opportunity if you look at it that way. The match itself wasn't really anything, as it didn't even last 5 minutes. The other champions interfered, Mr. Kennedy attacked Taker, and Cena managed to stand tall by the end of this thing. The next week, though, Cena met Kevin Federline. So on the October 16th, 2006 episode of Raw, Johnny Nitro and Melina promised an A-lister will appear on the show. What they didn't tell us was that K-Fed was A-list by proxy. I mean, what's so A-list about him? I would tell you who K-Fed is for those of you that don't know, but I'll leave us in the whole other topic. But long story short, he was married to Britney Spears at the time, and in entertainment, he was the biggest heel in America. The guy garnered heat upon entering the ring. Anything he says, they would boo him, and he said that the same people booing him are the same people buying magazines with his face on the front cover. Yeah, I'm sure they did. He also called the LA fans a bunch of superficial posers. Melina then asked K-Fed to debut a song from his album. The fans were like, hell no, and with good reason. I mean, if you've listened to those songs, good got him. Funny part in this is the fact that the fans didn't want to hear it, yet he's telling them to wait a week. I don't think they would wait an eternity for that album. That's one thing for sure. Then the champ interrupted. Cena wanted to rap himself, and I should know he hadn't rapped in about a year at this point. The rap was a way to mock K-Fed. He mentioned how K-Fed's fame and fortune is built in and how he's got less talent than Paris Hilton, before stating Johnny Nitro doesn't have the nuts to hit him. And then, this is the most famous part. This is the part I will always remember. If K-Fed wasn't around, I'd be spearing Brady. Melina gasped, the fans cheered, and for some reason, Johnny tried to make the save. He got tossed out of there, but then Mafia boss Big Show and King Booker came out. Vince ran in there and announced that one of the 3 world championships will be defended at that pay-per-view, Cyber Sunday. He gave the choice to the fans and left. This meant Cena and K-Fed were alone in the middle of the ring, and the fans loudly chanted, Cena, Cena. And he acknowledged K-Fed's presence. He wanted Federline's influence, seeing as he claims, oh, the people do what I want to do because I'm a trendsetter. Kevin wanted Cena's title to be defended at the pay-per-view, and it was a tough pill to swallow, but Cena, you know what he did? He decided screw it, and he F-U'd Kevin Federline. By the way, Cena lost control. I'm sorry, nobody will get that one because nobody bought a CD, but yeah. The following week, America's Most Hated once again made an appearance. This time, though, for dumb reasons. He decided to slap Cena, but luckily Johnny quickly made the save. It was during the match between Cena and Nitro. The faux Marine bounced back by bouncing Nitro with an FU to win the match. K-Fed wasn't really keen to fight, but Cena's mindset was otherwise. Luckily, Big Show and King Booker attacked and they hit their finishers while Mr. Spears watched on. Booker, though, capitalized on the distracted Big Show and ended up being the last man standing. I should note that Federline was absolutely hated. He's shouting Cena sucks and the fans were responding with you suck. That's how bad it was for him. Or good, depends on what you think. On the triple threat match, Cena first of all trashed K-Fed's album, calling it a literal bomb. He didn't care whether or not his title was on the line or not, and how it's in the fans' hands, it's all your choice, whatever. He asked Todd Grisham about who he voted for, and the guy was scared to reveal the information. Cena got him to reach his breaking point when he shouted that his choice was King Booker. He also hoped that Cena gets his ass beat, and thus, Lunatic Cena was unlocked. He shouted about how King Booker and Big Show will be staring into a loaded gun. I don't think we need to continue that. Anyways, about the main event, the fans voted for the coach. He obviously got his ass beat and Cena stood tall. Anyways, now the match at Cyber Sunday was decent. I don't think it was the best match. It was good though. Beforehand, Booker made a peace treaty with Cena and even offered his wife for one night in exchange for that deal. Cena sarcastically accepted, but only wanted to prove a point, King Booker will do anything. He'll even offer his wife for a little advantage. With that said, the fans chose King Booker's World Heavyweight Championship in a landslide vote. Unfortunately, though, it basically spoiled the results because there was no way in hell that SmackDown was going to be left without a champion. But for me back then, everything was unpredictable, When you're a kid, you're watching wrestling, you're like, anything can happen. Cena and Booker mostly went back and forth, and the Big Show was on the outside. At one point, Cena had the match won, but Charmel interfered. She got FU'd, Booker ran into the STFU himself, and it was all but over. But Kevin Federline comes in and whacks Cena with the title. His reaction was the same as everybody's at home. This gave enough time for Booker to capitalize and use the world title as a weapon to retain it. That's the match. That K-Fed guy is just so damn unlikable. Also, had this match happened in December, we would have seen a triple threat between Cena, Lashley, and Batista, which might have been cooler to see. Depends. Obviously, 2006 me would have loved that match, so yeah. The next night on Raw, the little heat magnet appeared live via satellite. Why did he appear? First, to promote his Playing with Fire album, which I warn you not to play because your device will catch fire. Also sold 23,000 copies. Second, he was out to challenge John Cena to a match in Miami on the first Raw of 2007. As for Cena's actual next challenger for the title, well, later that night, Maria was forced to face Umaga per order of Eric Bischoff, who was running Raw for one night. Umaga basically destroyed her, and the superhero John Cena ran in there to prevent further damage. The fans loudly chanted, Cena, Cena, which is funny to hear in hindsight. He once again lashed out on Todd Grisham by FUing him. He told Bischoff, who gave him the night off, back off, jack off, or something like that, and he issued a challenge to Umaga if he sees fit. The champ shifted his focus to K-Fed and suggested that he will take that $300 million he stole from Britney and buy him a military. Like, I recommend you buy a military. I recommend you buy an Air Force because that's the only way he's going to be able to stand by the end of January 1st. Now, that challenge Cena set out to Umaga was accepted, and the match was made for the November 13th episode. For context, Umaga at this point was the most protected WWE star. It wasn't John Cena. It wasn't Triple H. It wasn't Batista that was protected, but it was the Samoan Bulldozer. The match itself, not much happened, and they continued to protect him when the Big Show ran in there to cause the DQ. The two monsters jumped the champ and left him a battered man. Now, why was Big Show out there? Well, he was there because he was set to captain a Survivor Series team featuring Umaga, MVP, Test, and Finley against John Cena's team featuring Rob Van Dam, Sabu, Kane, and Bobby Lashley. This match, like, I don't hear much about it. I don't think it's that great. For some reason, I like it. It wasn't even that memorable or must-see, but I enjoyed it. I believe the interactions between Cena and Umaga were limited. He got eliminated in the first minutes, and this visual showed just how wild Umaga was. Cena and Lashley managed to last to the end, and the duo worked as a team to knock down Big Show. They did just that, and Cena hit the FU on him to win the match for his team. Big Show at this point was elsewhere. He was absolutely burned out and needed a break to get back in form. I mean, the guy hadn't taken a break in like 2 years at this point, and he's a big man. He's wrestling every day in different cities, different states, different countries. He deserved a break, that's one thing for sure. After Survivor Series, a match was made for New Year's Revolution between John Cena and Umaga for the WWE Championship. Before the match, though, the coach forced Cena to partake in the Master Lock Challenge. Why did he do this? Well, he hates Cena. It's as simple as that. The champ, though, insulted the coach's decision-making, calling him boring. So what did he do? He booked Cena in the Master Lock Challenge for the title. So now, Cena shuts his mouth. I mean, you're all complaining, oh, you're boring. Well, he got what's coming to him. Now, at this point, the Master Lock was still one of the most feared finishers in WWE. That's one thing for sure. It was a worldwide phenomenon with kids all over the world inspired to lock that thing in at schoolyards, playgrounds, inside of school, doesn't matter. The hold, basically for context, had yet to be broken. Cena, once he was locked in the hold, he was turning red. Masters' fingers were starting to part ways when the ref got knocked down. Cena then reversed the hold and forced him to tap out. So Chris's hold had yet to be broken. Umaga, craving some action, marched down to the ring and a brawl ensued. The fight, it was wild. Security, loads of security, failed to separate them on a couple of occasions, and since those two were itching to kill each other, not fight each other, the coach initiated a no-touch policy for both men until the end of the year. Cena instead focused on Estrada and revealed that he's been bragging about essentially running Raw with Jonathan Coachman being in his pocket, you know. So the interim GM booked a match between Armando Alejandro Estrada and John. He got his ass whooped, but Johnny Nitro, K-Fed's sidekick, kicked the champ's head off. He got his ass kicked by the end of the night too, so yeah. Meanwhile, on SmackDown, Batista was asked to find a partner for the Armageddon main event against King Booker and Finley. The World Heavyweight Champion decided to call a familiar friend, John Cena. Now, the match was a way to pop the buy rate per the dirt sheets, as WWE had a horrendous December to dismember and wanted to have a superb pay-per-view 2 weeks later to regain the fans' faith, I guess. Cena was brought in to help with a buy rate, and the main event, it did feel like a TV match, but it was still decent enough. I have fond memories of this pay-per-view as I had the DVD and watched it like a million times back in 2007. I mean, I always loved to see Cena on SmackDown around this time period. Hell, I loved seeing anyone that was from Raw on SmackDown. As expected, Cena and Batista won the match and they focused on their next challengers. Cena's, though, wasn't Umaga. It was the winner of the Battle Royal, Edge. He managed to finagle his way into a title match with John Cena, and about the match itself, it was pretty competitive. The Rated R Superstar was mostly in control, but near the end, they went back and forth when the ref got knocked down. Randy Orton decides to run in there and hit an RKO, but DX, I don't know why they're coming out there, decided to cancel this. Like, they crashed the party for Rated RKO, and Triple H pedigreed Edge thereby costing him that title for a second time. Leave him alone. K-Fed, meanwhile, was bragging about 2007 and how he's gonna beat John Cena. Funny enough, Johnny Nitro was the one who was training him. He wanted some and he was gonna get some. About that match, first of all, WWE made it seem like a pay-per-view match. I mean, look at this promo, this video package. They made it seem like a big-ass deal. The story between Cena and K-Fed did generate some publicity. I mean, WWE loves these things. So, it was kind of necessary for them to do the match, I guess. Also, another thing to mention is that K-Fed, WWE considered hiring him. I just wanted to mention that. Now, the match itself, it kicked off 2007, which I find funny. K-Fed had a big-ass ego as evident, and this image in itself is kind of hilarious. The Halloween guys stalled the match for a bit, and then it was on. There was a headlock, a Master Lock challenge, and it was a joke in Cena's eyes, but that would all change when Umaga interfered and attacked him. Kevin Federline then ran in there and covered Cena. 1, 2, 3. What? Definitely one of the most obscure victories in WWE history. I mean, the one thing I find even funnier was the fact that Cena couldn't get his victory back because the other guy ran off to Hollywood. The only way Cena could beat him at this moment is for the 24/7 title, that's all. I mean, back then, every time someone beat Cena, eventually they'd have to lose to him. This time around, that wasn't the case. Now, in my opinion, Federline could have been a great manager. I mean, he was so damn unlikable. There's not a quality trait in there for me to say. What I mean by that is that he ain't a good person in storyline. Maybe the guy is cool in real life, but his album was absolutely trash. He was hated in Hollywood and he was practically claimed to be someone he wasn't. Like, that guy was thinking he's this big A-list star, yet his album sold like 20,000 copies the first week. Like, that's trash. That's horrendous. He was claiming that he was someone everybody follows. He was claiming he was a trendsetter, which I find funny because I don't see no trends of his to this day. I don't see no trends of his in 2007 at all. Yeah, he could have been great. I also found out he was paid $15,000 per appearance, so there's that. So the K-Fed arc is over. Now it's time to focus on Umaga. Now, the title match with Umaga, first of all, I don't hear about it that often. It's usually overshadowed by that bloodbath between Rated RKO and DX. Also, it is rightfully overshadowed by their future match. Umaga was this unstoppable monster that easily plowed through Cena. The champion had to rely on his instincts, and when he had a burst of energy and momentum, Umaga silences him. The challenger had the match won, but Cena, at a moment's notice, evaded the finisher, and with a little look on his side, went for a cradle, catching Umaga off guard for the 3 count. JR's reasoning for the loss was that Umaga did his homework. He prepared for the FU, but not a damn roll-up. Cena did what it takes to get the W, and so he was the first person to best Umaga in a match. The next night on Raw, he reflected on the title victory. Cena spoke about getting his ass whooped at the pay-per-view, and he also took issue at Estrada's statements after the show on how his victory was a fluke. So, he was ready to defend the title tonight. The coach came out and refused to book the match, instead opting to give Umaga the night off. Cena was expecting Umaga to come out regardless of the statement, but coach booked him in a match against Raw's newest acquisition, the Great Khali. Damn, back then when I was watching WWE, this guy was the scariest. It'd be an understatement to say he's 99 overall during this time period, as he only lost once, and his loss was to The Undertaker. And little me thought he was the scariest guy ever. Anyway, Cena was destroyed. He didn't lose though, because Umaga, like a crazed fan, ran into the ring and picked up the pieces. So a match was made between the two for the Royal Rumble, and it was last man standing. Heading into the event, Cena was exactly 100%. The coach was against him, Umaga was breathing down his neck, and his ribs were killing him. The match though, hot damn, I think it has a claim of being Cena's best match up to this point. It was definitely Umaga's best. You know, I hate ranking matches, but this, it's perfect. Such a brutal affair, but that's just an understatement. There's not a bad thing I can say about this at all. Cena had to go through a monster in very unique fashion. It wasn't a run-of-the-mill big guy versus little guy match. Cena actually had to think with his mind in order to best him. That's why I love this damn thing. His ribs were causing him to wince in pain, and I think this was the first match where many acknowledged that Cena was a good or great worker. At some points, Umaga seemed invincible. He gets up, he gets knocked down. Get up, gets knocked down. No exaggeration, but it's up there with the very best good guy versus monster matches. Hell, some even see it as the very best. It was violent. It was intense, violent, dramatic, entertaining, tremendous, legendary stuff. The fans got behind Cena, not everybody, obviously, and he refused to lay down. The problem with this, though, was the fact that he was hurting himself in the process of doing so, because Umaga, he was relentless. Eventually, though, he realized that he's got to think like a monster. Opt for some modern warfare. Estrada, meanwhile, for some reason, removed the turnbuckle from the ropes and gave it to Umaga. This backfired, and Cena ended up choking Umaga with the damn ropes, and like any other human, he required oxygen to breathe. There wasn't any in this situation, and he passed out for 2 seconds. Cena did it once again, but this time he got him the well-deserved victory. He went to hell and back, got his ass beat from pillar to post, and the excitement just talking about this match makes me want to watch it again. It was that damn good. It rivals just about any match from WWE in 2007. Maybe even any North American match in 2007, depends. But yes, I suggest you watch it, because if you haven't, what the hell are you waiting for? So now that Cena steered past the Samoan bulldozer, it was time to focus on WrestleMania 23. Shawn Michaels, the next night on Raw, believed he was deserving of a title shot, and if The Undertaker chooses either the World Championship or the ECW title, as funny as that sounds, because there was no chance in hell that he was going to do that, John Cena's wide open. The champ decided to confront his potential opponent, and Cena echoed the match into the arena. He thought it was good, but the problem with this was the fact that The Undertaker was the Royal Rumble winner. Edge then interrupted, and he had something to say about this. He drew heat from the fans, who showed no love for him at all, and simply put, Edge wanted that WrestleMania title shot. He said that he beat Cena, in his words, more times than he could count, and HBK blew his shot last night. Randy Orton, Edge's tag team partner, came out. He asked Edge about the number of times he challenged Cena. Well, he, Orton, never even got a fair shot. Basically, Edge challenged Cena like 50 times, while he challenged John Cena 0 times. Makes sense. Cena had enough of the baby talk, and he wanted to fight. But the boss via satellite stopped Rated RKO from entering the ring, and he booked a duel in a tag team title match against Shawn Michaels and John Cena for the World Tag Team Championships. Heading into the match, Ric Flair reminded John that Shawn is the type to make an impact. You know, he could catch the champ off guard with a physical statement. As for the match, it went on the babyface's side. They had to fight for it though, and so they were champions. As expected, Michaels wanted to make a statement, but Cena had eyes in the back of his head. He repeatedly asked if it was about this, you know, the title, when The Undertaker made his presence felt. Cena pissed his pants in fear, and on SmackDown that week, he made an appearance. The champ wanted an answer from The Undertaker, but that didn't happen because Shawn Michaels made a very rare appearance, and it was weird back then and still is to see Shawn Michaels on the Blue brand on Friday nights. It's just unusual. It feels unnatural. It's like The Undertaker on Raw during the 2000s. He challenged The Undertaker to a match for the WrestleMania title shot, but before he can make a decision, Vince McMahon made an appearance. Once again, Vince, 2.5 years since his last appearance, I believe, on SmackDown. He didn't give a damn about what Michaels or the fans want, and so he booked a tag team match for No Way Out. Shawn Michaels and John Cena against Batista and The Undertaker. Damn. So it was going to be 4 former world champions teaming up in what was possibly the biggest SmackDown main event ever. I'm pretty sure there was a bigger one. On Raw, The Undertaker finally made a decision. He chose Batista. By my count, 11 seconds later exactly, Shawn Michaels came out. He was in a rush to get that title shot, and he realized John Cena didn't have an opponent for WrestleMania, so he was here to help a brother out. But Randy Orton interrupted, and he wanted the title shot for himself. Edge thought otherwise, so the boss booked a triple threat #1 contenders match for the main event. There wasn't a lack of passion like others for this one, but there was some issues within Rated RKO, and Michaels took advantage to win the match. John Cena was right there to confront the #1 contender, and they had a little stare down when Batista and The Undertaker reminded the duo not to overlook the No Way Out main event. About that match, it was bigger than any collab from 2007. It was way bigger than anything. Before the match, Cena was certain that he'll fight as hard with Shawn Michaels as he will against him at WrestleMania, and the match itself, 4 of my favorites at the time going at it. It can't get any better than that. Also, I don't think I liked anyone as much as I did with those 4 at the time. Yeah, if I had to say my top 4 favorites, it was those guys for sure, guaranteed. Yeah, it was. Also, I love this match. It wasn't legendary and the action wasn't outstanding, but the fact that these 4 faced off in a main event, yeah, it's up there for my favorites of the 2000s. I really like the atmosphere, you know, the LA crowd, they were into it. I believe Batista and The Undertaker were working as the good guys. JBL put in a shift due to Michael Cole's voice, and none of the guys faced each other in a very long time, especially Taker and HBK. 9 years. 9 years since their last match. It was enjoyable due to the circumstances. The WrestleMania stories played a crucial part in the result, and despite the fact that the W was essentially under his belt, Batista cost himself and his WrestleMania opponents the match. Why? Because he wanted to send The Undertaker a message. If you want more on that story, check out this video. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Now, on the road to WrestleMania, there was no distractions for HBK, Shawn Michaels, and the champ John Cena. Well, scratch that, there actually was. The two men had to actually focus on defending the tag team titles, and not only that, Cena had to look behind his back at every moment for a switch in music. Rated RKO instilled paranoia in Cena's mind. They showed him a clip of every partner Michaels turned on, and they were sure that the same thing was going to happen to him before WrestleMania. But Rated RKO had bigger issues at hand. Shawn Eddie Guerrero'd Orton, and Edge believed the fact that his own partner did it, so he bailed. Randy Orton lost the match, and as for the other two, there was still that competitive fire. Despite the low-key tension, Cena was still focused on making the tag team thing work heading into WrestleMania. He was trying to help HBK during the match, but the challenger refused any help, and so he lost. But when it was time for John's match with Edge later that night, the Rated R superstar gave one of the most... that was the most unique excuse I've ever heard for not competing in a match. First of all, he brought Eminem. So Edge was ready to fight, but since he was a civil rights activist, he said that Arizona is one of the last states to recognize Martin Luther King Day, and since he's colorblind, he can't perform in front of these bigots.
I'm Canadian, I'm colorblind, so I can't perform in front of these bigots.
And since Johnny Nitro's great-grandmother is black, he demanded to beat down Cena himself. What the hell? Never. I don't even know what to say about that. Once I heard this, I burst out laughing. It was so damn hilarious. Like, the amount of effort Edge put into an excuse, unlike anyone else. This is the GOAT excuse I've ever seen for not competing in a match. The whole thing ended up being an attack on Cena, and so Shawn Michaels made the save. Or did he? Since Cena said he didn't want help either, he walked away. But he had a change of hearts and he knocked down Nitro and Mercury. Cena was completely confused over what transpired as Raw went off the air. Seeing as Shawn never explained anything, the champ called out his tag team partner and WrestleMania opponent on the following episode of Raw. He was asking for a fight, I guess. He also took offense to Michaels' promises of keeping his back, and Shawn admitted that he wasn't out to win a Good Samaritan award. His intentions were simple. It was the WWE Championship. He then asked the champ, like, why doesn't anyone mention the fact that you might turn on me? They always say Shawn Michaels is gonna strike. Well, what if it's the other way around? Shawn was starting to get desperate, and he wanted that one last title reign under the sun, and he was gonna do anything to get just that. Jonathan Coachman came out and stacked the deck against the two. He received "You Suck" chants and revealed that a bunch of tag teams contacted McMahon to get a chance to take away the titles. Since he's busy, the coach himself booked a tag team gauntlet match for the titles, and if they manage to get to the third match, it will be inside a steel cage. The duo managed to get through the world's greatest tag team when Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch ran in there. They gave the champs a hard time for a short time when Cena had Murdoch in FU position. Michaels from out of nowhere super kicked the hell out of Trevor, instilling fear into the champ's mind. He was completely shook and tensions rose, but they were forced, well, defensive if they wanted it, to coexist. Eminem was the final team, and at this point Michaels was spent, but a 60% HBK and John Cena were good enough to grab the win. Despite the W, both men weren't exactly jumping in joy. The losing teams attacked, and once again they were forced to coexist. Okay, with 2 weeks remaining until the big match at WrestleMania, both men were set to face former WrestleMania opponents. You know, WrestleMania Rewind. Shawn gets Cena's WrestleMania 21 opponent, JBL, and Cena gets Shawn's WrestleMania 20 opponent, Chris Benoit. JBL refused to compete, and he tried telling Michaels that he's had opportunity after opportunity to kick Cena's head off, and he informed Michaels that he's getting his ass kicked due to this. And he also called him the most egotistical prick he's ever met in his life. He said that deep down inside, maybe Shawn Michaels can't be John Cena. So he becomes a good guy. He's religious, and when it's all said and done, after the loss, the fans are still going to cheer him. Bradshaw wanted to be some sense into HBK, but since he's retired, Shawn offered a rebuttal saying no mind games is the best kind of mind game. I mean, he's got a point there. He said that he can scare Cena heading into the match and he'll be in over his head. He didn't like anybody telling him what to do, and he then super kicked JBL at a moment's notice, showing that if he executes the damn thing, it would definitely work. Later that night, Cena faced Chris Benoit. I believe this was the second to last appearance Chris Benoit made on Raw, and Cena was eager to get in there and face the former world champion. Funny enough, a little story, this was the first Raw I watched in nearly a year at the time. From there, I don't think I missed a single Raw throughout the year of 2007. It's a good memory. Shawn Michaels provided commentary, and it was decent. Shawn almost got knocked down accidentally, obviously, and it added to the ongoing drama. Benoit was aggressive and full throttle, and the match was basically the ultimate test for John Cena. Chris Benoit was probably the very best wrestler in the company. He took the champion to school, but Cena, like Kobe at the time, was very in form. He made Benoit tap out to the STFU, which was probably a shocker, although the hold was probably the most feared. After the match, HBK once again teased Cena with the sweet chin music, but this time around, Cena was the one who instilled paranoia into HBK's mind. JBL all of a sudden came out and revealed that the World Tag Team Champions will challenge Batista and The Undertaker. So 6 nights before WrestleMania, we get to see the rematch from No Way Out. Yeah, about that match, it went in Shawn and John's favor. Taker dished Batista, and he was left alone with a tandem duo. They even did a double 5-knuckle shovel, but then after nearly 2 months, Shawn Michaels finally caught Cena off guard with the sweet chin music. It was a long time coming. Batista swooped in to get the W for his team, and Shawn teased Cena once more. Now, heading into the match at WrestleMania 23, who did the fans think was winning? Well, it was pretty conflicting, but the question that matters is who did they want to win? Well, looking at old forum posts, they were clamoring for Michaels to get it. A bunch hated Cena's guts with a passion, and they wanted nothing more than an HBK victory. Me personally, I had the John Cena shirt, so you know who I wanted. The atmosphere was somewhat calm. At least that's what it felt like for me initially. HBK coming out to the DX theme was weird. Cena once again had a special entrance. This time it was a Fast and Furious-esque with a Ford Mustang. And I should know this was Michaels' 4th WrestleMania main event. I did a match analysis on the main event in this video, so check it out if you want the entire thing. But long story short, a fan streak, not available on the network. The story saw Michaels work as the heel, I believe. Cena had some momentum initially, but Michaels isolated the knee. It seemed like Cena was a wounded animal. You know, he sold it initially, but I guess since he's Superman, it all went away a couple of minutes later. Michaels showed why he is Mr. WrestleMania, and it seemed like once the moment Cena built momentum, it was all gone. The match started to kick into high gear, and man, was it awesome. There was a moment where HBK had it, but he just couldn't cover Cena in time. The champ at a moment's notice caught Shawn with the STFU and forced him to tap out. Damn, what a match that was. Sure, John didn't sell the knee that much, but it's up there with my favorite WrestleMania main events. One thing that would have made this match even better is if Michaels hoisted the title in the end. I think it would have enhanced the quality of the match. Nonetheless, pure classic. Afterwards, though, Shawn was pretty angry with Cena, and it showed. The next night on Raw, John Cena opened up the show at the top of the hour. As expected, he received a mixed reaction. He hoisted the titles in the air when Shawn Michaels interrupted. He acknowledged Cena as the champ before discussing the match. He said that it was about winning and losing, nothing else. Cena won, and he lost. But he doesn't like this. Shawn was sick and tired of having to come out to the ring and extend his hand to the guys and lie to himself, saying that they were the better man. He was like, this ends tonight. Shawn stated that Cena may have won last night, but he wasn't the better man, and it seemed like Michaels was growing impatient with living without the WWE Championship. For 4 years, he seeked the world title, and every time he comes so damn close, but it's never to be. Cena took offense to this and straight up accepted whatever Michaels was asking for. Shawn said that he wasn't busy, so it was going to happen right here, right now. But the coach interrupted. He vetoed the whole thing because Vince refused to book any WWE title match for the night. Coach reminded them that they're the tag team champions, and so they will defend the titles against... well, they're facing 9 other teams in a 20-man battle royal for the title. A bunch of guys from Raw, SmackDown, and ECW participated in the battle royal, and Cena and Shawn had to practically hurt themselves to get the work done. But Coach, he wasn't finished. He congratulated the team on their victory for part 1 of the Battle Royal. Then he brought out 10 other teams that were way more experienced together. You know, Jeff Hardy was limping out there, freaking Paul London and Brian Kendrick, and I also find it fascinating how Miz and Nitro teamed up despite being on different brands. They didn't have any type of relationship either. Anyway, Cena and Michaels worked together, although HBK was mostly the one who was racking up eliminations, but all of a sudden, he tosses his own partner Cena over the top rope, effectively ending the title reign. Cena was like, you want it that way? Fine. The Hardys ended up winning, and don't worry, I will cover their runs. Later that night, Todd Grisham asked the million-dollar question. Why? Michaels' reasoning was that the title was a distraction, and now his focus is 100% on the WWE title. Randy Orton, however, interrupted and demanded a title shot himself, stating HBK already blew his chance. Meanwhile, a battered Edge came out to the arena, and he said that a lesser man wouldn't be standing here tonight because of the Jeff Hardy incident. Despite being sore and fighting to get out of bed into the arena, he heard about Shawn Michaels getting granted a title shot, he heard about his old tag partner Randy wanting a title shot, and the fact that Cena's still the champ. Well, Edge thought this was funny. He said that Shawn was the same guy whose head's been bashed in, Randy was the gullible, egotistical man that's been outsmarted several times, and John Cena, he's the guy that went through challenger after challenger, but he's also the same guy that the Rated R Superstar beat. Simply put, he put his name in the WWE Championship picture. He believed he was the best, and so all of the fans will be forced to call him the next WWE Champion. Unfortunately for Edge, he wasn't featured in a #1 contenders match the following week. It was between Randy Orton and Shawn Michaels. As HBK and Orton were killing each other, Edge decided to make his presence felt. Randy didn't want any help from Edge, and so he got speared. He got a switch in music about a minute later, and so HBK won. Wait. Oh, I see. Edge was totally confused initially, but he was stoked about the results. Why? Well, later that night, he decided to host the Cutting Edge. He believed that both Michaels and Orton lost that match. He then revealed that the coach believes he should be the #1 contender, and all of a sudden, a very angry Randy Orton interrupted. Then he delivered a bombshell. Not only does the coach agree that Edge doesn't deserve the title shot, but he's the one who's facing Cena at Backlash. Then, a banged-up Shawn Michaels appeared. HBK wanted to let those two know that he was the better man at WrestleMania, and at Backlash, it needs to be the WrestleMania rematch. And then the champ came out. Cena brought sarcasm to the discussion and took slight jabs at the contenders. He told Edge that the last time they faced off, it was his own match, but if he really wants it, sure. Randy Orton, he's to blame for not getting a title shot. He wasn't man enough to step up. And Shawn Michaels, you want some, come get some. Then the coach tried to make something out of this mess. Since Edge and Orton were respectful to him, he booked both of them in a 2-on-1 handicap match. All of a sudden, Cena's complaining, and Mick Foley decided to make a very rare appearance. He informed Coach that the decision is not his. He can't make the big decision of the night. That goes to honorary general manager of Raw, from the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Michael Pena. He overruled Coach's decision and instead booked John Cena versus Randy Orton versus Edge versus Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship. Shawn ended up being the happiest camper of them all. He finally gets to right the biggest wrong of 2007. Heading into Backlash, the champ was scheduled to face Randy Orton and Edge in a handicap match in Italy. He beat them as expected, but he obviously broke a sweat. And the reason why he won was because of the issues within Rated RKO. Michaels got a feud then and there, but the next week, damn. On the April 23rd, 2007 episode of Raw, John Cena faced Shawn Michaels in a WrestleMania rematch. Now, I remember watching this live personally. It's a weird memory, but my young self thought Raw ended early. It felt like a 1-hour episode to me. The guys faced off around 10 o'clock Eastern. Not only that, but there was still an Edge and Orton main event being promoted. So many expected this to last like 10 minutes excluding commercials, right? Well, they went at it for 55 freaking minutes. The match was probably my favorite of 2007. It has to be. It's certainly one of the best Raw matches ever, and for me, it's one of my top 2. The pace picked up gradually. I watched it again about 2 years ago, and it was definitely worth the time. For sure, much better than the WrestleMania match. They righted the wrongs here and managed to entertain the London crowd. Tremendous story, tremendous match. So much happened in here that I was kind of left wanting more. I mean, it was sweet. Had they got 120 minutes, don't matter. It wouldn't get boring. And the fact that HBK won clean, damn. First guy to beat Cena decisively in about 3 years. Now about the Fatal 4-Way match at Backlash. Damn. Up to that point, it was the greatest Fatal 4-Way match ever. No doubt about it. Still might be, but one thing that's for sure is that it's my favorite ever. High drama throughout the match. You didn't know if Edge was going to steal it, was Cena going to keep the title, or was he... I don't think anybody thought he was winning. And Shawn... Was it his night? Atlanta was in for a classic. A bunch of stuff occurred throughout the match. Rated RKO worked as a unit, turned on each other, obviously. It was really intense, and it felt like one of the last matches of its kind. You know, those wild attitude era, ruthless aggression matches. I don't know how in the hell they topped that last man standing match, but they did. At some points, it seemed like Michaels' night. He was kicking ass and taking names. There was this moment, and those final moments were something out of a movie. RKO, Impaler DDT, Execution. Orton gets speared. Cena gets the FU on Edge, and Michaels from out of nowhere hits the sweet chin music. The fans were cheering, and I feel bad just mentioning this because he's finally got it. They realize, the title's coming home. But Cena lands on Orton. The ref realizes this and counts 1, 2, 3. Damn it. HBK was 1 second away from championship glory. This time, though, it wasn't his wrongdoing. He was the better man once again, and he let Cena know it. I mean, the fans were certainly clamoring for it. The moment the kick connected, oh man, it gets me sad. And I was the biggest Cena fan in 2007, just thinking about it. Overall, an epic match that would have been even better had it ended in a title change, but it didn't matter. The next night on Raw, John Cena had a little moment with Prison Mike. Shawn Michaels swooped in and demanded a rematch. Vince, however, vetoed the whole thing and instead made Shawn earn his way to a title match. Unfortunately for him later that night, he was found unconscious in the back. Coach was confused and he placed the blame on Cena, who took offense. Then a couple of minutes later, Edge is dead. He's knocked down. Coach thought it was Orton, but he was found knocked down in the shower too. The interim GM believed somebody was out to destroy all the top guys, but Vince, though, he figured it out. The guy who did it wants Cena. He suggested the champ call out the perpetrator, and that's exactly what he did. So the champ was here. Cena was well aware of these attacks, and he believed somebody wanted attention, and he straight up informed them that he doesn't back down from any challenge, and if they want some, they can get some. He was ready for a fight, and the man didn't appear until about a minute later. And when he came out, he was anything but a coward. It was the great Khali. Cena was bounced off the ropes, and despite this, he tried fighting back unsuccessfully. The fans loudly chanted, Cena, Cena, and the commentary team were terrified. Cena at one point nearly got the FU, but Khali elbowed the living daylights out of him and hit the double barrel choke slam to end Raw on top. Now at this point, for me, Khali was the scariest wrestler in the entire company. I was completely perplexed as to how Cena was going to beat him. But before Khali could get a chance at the champ, he's got to go through Shawn Michaels. HBK managed to get a watchable match out of Khali. Seriously, despite the slim chances, Michaels fought with everything to get the chance at John Cena. But Khali beat him senselessly to get the title shot. The ref rang the bell to give Khali the win, and meanwhile, Cena was claiming he wasn't afraid. Later that night, Khali made his presence felt once again. He stole Cena's title for no reason. He's walking without a worry in the world, and once Cena just puts a little finger on him, boom, he blasts him. On the final Raw before Judgment Day, John Cena addressed the events of last week. As expected, he came out without the title, which seems weird to see. It was like somebody died. That's what Cena's morale was. He believed that last week was pure humiliation, and sure, he's been embarrassed, but this is different. Khali stole his title like a thief in the night. Maybe he can make a bunch of excuses, but that's not him. And what angered the champ the most is that even if he gives his best shot, it doesn't even faze the Giant. But if he's in the right frame of mind, he can be a one-man wrecking crew. Suddenly, Cena had a burst of energy and decided to call out the big bad monster, the great Khali. He wanted his title back that instant. The faux champion appeared via Titantron, and I do not understand a single thing, obviously. There he is. Big Khali managed to get a translator with the main event money he's been making recently. He got Ranjin Singh. He shot in some stuff here. Singh said that Khali claimed he's winning the title and he asked Cena to just bring it. Champ went and got some. Problem was, nothing was accomplished with this brawl. Cena got himself hurt before the Judgment Day match and he basically gave Khali an even bigger advantage. About the match, like I said, Khali had a 99% chance of winning in my mind. The quality of the match, though, I'll get into it right now. It was watchable, which in great Khali terms means it was 4 stars. If it was John Cena of 06 or 09, I don't think it would have been as good as it was. Also, imagine you showed this picture to someone in 2006. They would have gone absolutely crazy. Anyway, Cena sold to make Khali look like the scariest Giant. He was bounced around the mat, and whenever he was on the offense, Khali brought him back to earth. And what was that? Did RVD enter Khali's body or what? The crowd was certainly into this. The champ had to work smarter, not stronger than before. This got him a crucial opportunity to lock in the STFU. The Giant couldn't break the hold, and so he tapped out. Damn, it wasn't even the best match on the card, but it was certainly the most engaging. The champ went to hell and back in order to get a watchable match out of Khali. The match didn't even last that long in itself, which I should know is for good reason. The Great Khali's ring prowess was horrible, but I think it was on purpose in order to tell the next story. The next night on Raw, the Great Khali had a complaint about the match at Judgment Day. His words, as translated by Ranjin Singh, were that he was cheated last night. He never submitted in his life, and he knew his foot was under the rope the entire time, and in essence, the referee screwed the Great Khali. The fans, and most importantly, John Cena, screwed him also. Singh also mentioned Cena's dubious tactics, such as using the steel steps to his advantage. Khali also said that Cena's a coward, and it was then where John Cena interrupted. Oh look, it's the return of jorts. The champ admitted that Khali's foot was under the rope, but he also made the Great Khali tap out. As expected, he took offense to the word coward, and the champ admitted that he did fear Khali initially. And Judgment Day wasn't even about winning or losing to him, it was about surviving, but he not only survived, but he beat Khali. He straight up told him that he can beat him anywhere in the building. He asked Khali, do you want a rematch? To which Champ responded to himself, stating that he wants a rematch. They fought. Khali stood tall easily, unlike the previous night, and shortly thereafter, a false count anywhere match was made between John Cena and the Great Khali for the WWE Championship at One Night Stand. Heading into the match, Cena reassured everyone that he is not afraid of the Great Khali. He mocked them, the fans booed, chanted, "You suck," as Cena was rambling on. By the way, it was the Toronto crowd. He gave the doubters his word. He can and he will beat Khali. Before the title match, however, the champ had to go one-on-one with the Great Khali in a non-title match on Saturday night's main event. This match went way differently than you'd expect it to be. He got his ass whooped plain and simple, and he lost clean. After the match, Ranjin Singh proclaimed the Great Khali as the next WWE champion. As for One Night Stand, I believe it was better than it had any right to be. The false count anywhere stipulation offered more freedom, and again, Cena sold his ass off. He made every blow seem like hell. It was slow. It wasn't a catch-as-catch-can style main event match that we're accustomed to. I think Cena got in way less offense this time around, and the FU was the vital move in order to end Khali, but it took the champ a while. The challenger was manhandling the champion around the stage area, but at a moment's notice, Cena caught Khali, not really, and hit an FU off the damn crane. That got him the win at 10 minutes. They were scared of giving Khali long matches, and rightfully so. There's only so much he can do in the ring around this time period. You're probably thinking the feud's over, right? Wrong. The next night on Raw, Vince McMahon, who was on something, I swear, believed that John Cena was out to humiliate him. This was after the ECW title loss. That's a whole other story, but this segment was awkward in the best way possible. Vin McMahon wanted to punish Cena for mentioning the title loss by forcing him to defend his title in a triple threat match against Umaga and the Great Khali. What I think many expected was a Vince and Cena feud because it seemed like they were implying it. Also, when I hear John Cena versus Great Khali versus Umaga, it sounds like one of those matches that have like a bunch of views on YouTube, you know, millions and millions. Anyways, the champ was very informed. Khali fell so damn hard during this match. Man. Umaga, he didn't even take the pin even though he was weaker than Khali during this time period. He was made to look stronger. So now that the Umaga thing was finally done, you know, the Khali and Umaga thing was finally done, who was John Cena's next opponent going to be? Well, for starters, I think, and this is what I've seen, I think it would have been Shawn Michaels had he never suffered a knee injury. I mean, they were only delaying the match. They wanted to finish the trilogy, the story in itself. My personal opinion is that had they went through with it, Shawn would have won the title. My reasoning is that Orton was pushed back due to the fact that he destroyed a hotel in Europe, so they waited to see if Randy would get serious. In the meantime, they built him up. So yeah, that's what I think, and I assume he would have feuded with HBK. With that said, the next feud for Cena was apparently going to be Snitsky, as the dirt sheets reported. That explains the vignettes airing on Raw for a couple of weeks during this time period. He was drafted to Raw from ECW, and it seemed like that's where they were heading, but it wasn't to be. So who was Cena's next challenger? With Mr. McMahon's storyline death sending shockwaves throughout the WWE, there wasn't much thought put into Cena's opponent. Mick Foley said he wants to get a title shot. Randy Orton accused Foley of possibly being involved in the boss's demise. King Booker made his first official appearance as a member of Raw. He didn't accuse Foley, but Bobby Lashley did. He interrupted, shoved the King right out of the ring, and then the champ came out. He didn't like this Law and Order investigation. The champ thought it would be dumb to think any of them were the culprits because they only see him once a week. He began rhyming about who it could be, and in his words, anybody. The coach then interrupted, and he said that Mr. McMahon would have liked for the show to have gone on, and so the family put him in charge on an interim basis. He announced the championship challenge match featuring every single one of those guys for Vengeance of Night of Champions. Now, the match itself didn't really have much of a build-up because the event was only 6 days away. Orton stood tall later that night teasing what's to come, and that's all. Also, the title match was randomly announced on draft night. Now, about the match, there's a reason why it's not mentioned that much. Chris Benoit did what he did that weekend, and June 24th was the day where he ended it all. Add to the fact that the theme song for the event was called Gone, yeah, it's not going to be mentioned all that much. The main event itself was a car crash. No, not in a bad way. You had the uncrowned champion, the King, the hardcore legend, the legend killer, and the champ. It was definitely unique from a sense of participants. Like Mick Foley, Bobby Lashley in one match just sounds like a randomizer from SmackDown vs. Raw or something. But yes, if you got 10 minutes, watch this match. It easily pumped my blood last time around. It felt like it was always in high gear. Not a moment of dull action. They gave us a little preview of Cena and Lashley. Mick Foley was still taking bumps in the year of 2007. Cena FU'd Lashley. Damn, it was fun. The crowd was behind every move. It was so damn exciting, and Cena just found himself at the right place at the right time. Everyone was down, and so he quickly took advantage. If you don't really think of the events that went on, and you're just bored, watch it, please. As expected, Cena didn't appear on Raw the next night, but he did appear on ECW Tuesday night in order to give the fans a little good time. I never understood this appearance then, but obviously I can see why now. He faced the new ECW champion Johnny Nitro in a competitive match. It wasn't bad, and as expected, the WWE champion won. Now it's on to Cena's next challenger. On the July 2nd, 2007 episode of Raw, 4 men, Mr. Kennedy, King Booker, Bobby Lashley, and Randy Orton were set to compete in the Beat the Clock tournament. All of them wanted a title shot, especially Randy Orton, who was craving it the most. Lashley's reasoning for a title shot: he never lost his world title, therefore he's an uncrowned champion. They were all complaining, so William Regal randomly came out. The reason why he was out here was because Coach was on holiday and he booked the Beat the Clock challenge. King Booker was complaining the entire time during the segment, and the winner gets Cena for the title at the Great American Bash. Orton set the time at 7 minutes and 6 seconds by beating Jeff Hardy, but his time was easily shattered by King Booker, who beat Val Venus, which is sort of unfair. Meanwhile, Mr. Kennedy was very sure of himself. You know, I'm going to win the challenge and beat Cena. And his opponent was super crazy. He wasted too much time talking on the mic, and this cost him, because super crazy ended up rolling him up to win. If it was regular Beat the Clock rules, he would have been #1 contender, but that wasn't the case. Lashley's opponent ended up being Shelton, and he beat him with 25 seconds left, which destroyed Booker in the back. He was raging. At the end of the night, William Regal hosted the contract signing for the Great American Bash main event between John Cena and Bobby Lashley. The champ praised Lashley, and he was looking forward to the match, and the challenger also had the same thoughts, and so he signed the contract. All of a sudden, Mr. Kennedy and King Booker came on. This felt like some sort of season mode cutscene. Both guys thought this was a farce, it was rigged, yada yada yada, and Cena told them that if they want some, they can get some, and a fight ensued. The heels didn't put up much of a fight, and the champ signed the contract. Once he turned around, bam! He was speared. And no, this wasn't a heel turn. It was just Bobby Lashley showing that he wants the title. The next week, Cena wasn't physically on Raw. He appeared on Larry King Live with Chris Jericho and Bret Hart to discuss the Benoit tragedy. He spoke to JR and Jerry Lawler about the main event at the Bash, and they asked Cena, like, how can you beat a man that's physically and mentally strong as Bobby Lashley? He answered in, like, basic sports fashion. We'll see, I'm looking forward, you know. Lashley, meanwhile, beat both Booker and Kennedy in a handicap match. Heading into the bout, the WWE treated it like a WrestleMania main event. They asked the past and present on their thoughts of the main event match. Flair chose Cena, Edge chose Cena, Batista opted for Lashley due to his power, strength, and athletic ability, and even Stone Cold Steve Austin made a prediction. It really complimented the match greatly, giving it this spectacular finals feeling. On the final Raw before Great American Bash, Jonathan Coachman hosted a debate between the champion and the uncrowned champion. The coach gave the champ a little flashback to 2 weeks earlier and asked the question, do you feel like your championship reign will end this Sunday? Because, well, Cena's never faced anyone with this ridiculous combination of power, speed, agility, and strength that Lashley possesses. He began fake crying about how he can't win this match, and it greatly irritated Lashley. The champ thought this was the worst question ever and told his opponent that despite his skill set, he's faced the toughest and baddest of them all, and he promised Lashley that he'll get the best of John Cena. Coach then asked Lashley what kind of message he was sending to Cena when he speared him, and he was like, actions speak louder than words. He opted to have the hype man discuss the match while he's standing there ready to fight. Cena obliged and wanted a fight, but Coach quickly put a stop to it before Lashley ran up to him. He threatened to cancel the title match if he even lays a single finger on him, and Cena told Lashley not to be concerned about Jonathan Coachman. Instead, he should focus on his greatest opportunity, because if he doesn't, he's going to exit the arena without a title once again. Security and officials tried to prevent the situation from boiling over, but then Cena listed a bunch of his accolades. Cena then said that at the Great American Bash, he will put Lashley's invincibility to the test, and out he came again. Cena wasn't backing down, and they went face to face. The situation escalated, and John once again promised his best as Raw went off the air. Now, the match at the Bash was something. Say what you want about Cena, like or dislike, but you can't deny this match was some of his best work up to this point. This match had a certain aura to it, you know. Two young guys main event in a pay-per-view is something that didn't really happen all that often. Still doesn't to this day. Lashley was in his 20s, Cena was in his 20s also, and it was like the first match in the beginning of a Lashley-Cena story. We didn't know what happened afterwards, but at the time it was something. Like, these guys were going to be the two biggest faces of WWE. Cena took control and led Lashley to a classic. Also, I'm not gonna lie, but this was definitely Lashley's best match up to this point. It featured action, drama, and it might have had an element of unpredictability because, well, Cena was champion for 10 months, and Lashley was the guy who had the hardest push in 07. The crowd was into it, near falls, some tremendous stuff, and Lashley had to take an avalanche FU to lose this one. It wasn't like he was buried, he actually looked good in defeat. But since Lashley lost, it meant Cena went through everybody. I saw the dirt sheets once again. There was a plan that saw Lashley turn into a villain, a heel, and face Cena at SummerSlam, but that wasn't what they went with. Since Lashley lost, it meant Cena went through everybody. The Raw roster was sort of thin, and so this left one person whose star power was big enough for a SummerSlam main event. For the next night on Raw, after getting himself and Candice Michelle out of a sticky situation, John Cena was on the receiving end of an RKO. Jonathan Coachman took notice and booked John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. Finally! If you lived through it, you know how anticipated this match was. It was like Messi and Ronaldo finally clashing. Something like that, like the top two young guys finally facing off. They did wrestle in a TV match, but that doesn't really count because those matches didn't really have a clean finish, and they weren't at their best. Many thought they were saving it for WrestleMania 24, but that wasn't to be. Cena addressed the title match the following week, stating that Orton's well prepared. Well prepared as in making a statement by attacking him, because the last couple of months, every single one of Cena's challengers attacked him to get a title shot. That's what he means. The champ asked Orton to skip to the end of the book to see the ending. You know, at the end of SummerSlam, the champ is here. All of a sudden, Carlito randomly interrupted it, and he announced Cena's the first guest on the new and improved Carlito's Cabana. Cena's completely bewildered, and as expected, Caribbean Cool reminded the champ that he won the US title from him in his first match. Cena realized that this was true, but then mentioned that this was a long-ass time ago. So basically, last time Carlito had one on Cena, very long time. Kennedy interrupted after Carlito promised to make an impact, therefore getting a title shot. Kennedy disagreed, they argued and bickered over who should really be #1 contender, and Cena then shouted Randy Orton. He believed the Legend Killer earned his spot unlike someone who believes they're the #1 contender by a microphone falling from the ceiling or stuttering on your last name. Cena suggested he prove himself by beating Bobby Lashley. And as for Carlito, sure he beat the champ, but that was a long time ago, and in order to prove himself, he's got to face the champion tonight. Now about that, Carlito failed to prove himself. If by fail, you mean he actually won. That's right. Randy Orton was the cause of this chaos, and an apple-faced Cena was smiling. Why is he smiling? Well, he's got apple on his face, and he's gonna do something about it. A very joyful Carlito once again hosted his cabana the following week, with his guest being John Cena. He didn't waste time in appearing, and he stared a hole into Carlito, who sort of backed off. All of a sudden, his angry demeanor turned into that of SpongeBob's in the morning. He was happy to be there. Why? Because he's going to host his own cabana. The champ interviewed himself and complained about the events of last week. And it was more fitting for Maria, you know. She did stuff like this. Maria, what are you going to do today? Oh, I'm going to do this. He gave 3 reasons why he should trash the cabana and beat up Carlito. 1, he ain't got no nuts. 2, he hates spitting apples. And that's cool. I don't even know what the hell he was talking about. I assume when he means that's cool, he's talking about assaulting him? He then assaulted Carlito when Orton ran out there. His snake-like tendencies wouldn't work here, and he ran the hell out of there. Carlito received an FU, and William Regal came out and informed Mr. Cena that Carlito and Randy Orton have the chance to choose the champ's opponent. Initially, Regal thought it was one of them, but they weren't having any plans on wrestling that night. Instead, they chose Umaga. Obviously, the IC champion was a tough opponent for the champ. I mean, it's clear. The crowd was certainly engaged with the match, and Cena couldn't find a way to FU Umaga. The match itself would conclude when Orton and Carlito interfered and attacked Cena. This was moments before Umaga was probably going to tap out. He took offense to the chest slaps and attacked. William Regal decided, you know, I have a great idea. It's going to be Orton and Carlito against John Cena and Umaga. Okay, side note, I wish we got to see a babyface Umaga run. I think it would have been cool. He probably would have been even more successful, you know. He's destroying people, he's not talking, we all know who he is, and all that stuff. I think it would have been cool. As for how that match went, we got to see a little SummerSlam preview. Umaga was basically Hulk Hogan of 2007, which means that he was unstoppable. The team of Cena and Umaga ended up winning, gaining some fire, heading into SummerSlam. That Saturday night's main event, John Cena faced Carlito in a non-title match. He utterly destroyed him, but right afterwards, Orton attacked. He threw Cena into the steps, then to make matters worse for the champ, hit an RKO on him right onto the steel chair. So, John wasn't at 100% heading into the match with Orton, let alone the match with Snitsky on Raw. On the final Raw before the events, Orton showed just what he's made of. During Cena's match with Snitsky, the Legend Killer struck with an RKO to cause a DQ. That wasn't enough, and he had a second RKO, and Orton stared at the title, ending Raw on top. Now, from what I could find, the rumor heading into the events was that if the Legend Killer kept his behavior in check, he's winning the gold. As we all know, it was delayed, but yes, Orton was no longer a problem in the back at this point. With that said, the match at SummerSlam was a classic, no doubt about it. It's unfortunate that they never topped this match since. I mean, how do you create magic like this, yet not be able to duplicate it or replicate appreciate it. They did have some better matches, but they always involved some sort of stipulation. This one, it's my favorite. They told such a tremendous story out there. The crowd was lively, and I believe it was going to be Orton's night. It just had this feeling to it. Legend Killer is more about isolation, the slow tempo, methodical pace, you know. If you've ever watched this seriously, what are you waiting for? It had a big fight feel to it. For 4 years, fans have been waiting to see a meaningful match between those two, and it didn't disappoint. Not one bit. It was a pure 4-star match, which by watching their future matches seems a bit unexpected. I rank it in my top 5 SummerSlam main events. Orton near the end went for the punts, but found himself in FU position to lose the match and his chance at WWE Championship Gold. The next night on Raw, Randy Orton opened the show in a state of disappointment. The fans booed as he stood there motionless for a few seconds. He said that he spent the entire day in church because he witnessed a miracle, John Cena retaining the title. He said that while he was on his knees, he had an epiphany. He had the match won, and therefore he should have been the WWE champion, but if anything, the guy that needs to thank God is John Cena himself for surviving the challenge. He said that he also needs to thank God for his career not ending, and due to the results, Orton demanded a rematch. It didn't take long for the champion to appear. Just to know, this episode emanated from Boston. Cena's father was in attendance, and this gave Orton a little idea. The champ thought Orton was a baby, complaining about the title loss and whatnot, and he did praise Orton for kicking his ass for weeks, but he was more in the business of making fun of him. When with the title loss, Randy moved to the back of the line. Cena's mind frame at this point was more focused on a certain game. That match wasn't booked, however, because Regal refused to grant Triple H a title match. Instead, Cena was going to face King Booker. Orton tried to make another statement, but was unsuccessful. Later that night, the Viper barged into Mr. McMahon's office and demanded the rematch with John Cena. Unfortunately for him, the boss thought he was undeserving of a title shot, not until he actually shows that he really wants the title shot. But until then, it was a blunt no. At the end of the night, Randy Orton interfered in John's match with King Booker, which was his final appearance, I should know. He got double teamed and never found a way to fight back. The Legend Killer attempted a punt, but had second thoughts. Instead, he went after John Cena's father, and he was damned if he does, but he did it anyways and kicked his lights out. JR was utterly shocked, and the medical team attended to John Cena Sr. as Raw went off the air. The following week, Orton decided to refrain from appearing in the ring, so he appeared via satellite to address the events of last week. Funny enough, it was actually Regal who told him to stay away from the building. Orton didn't care if anyone thought he was deranged, and if anything, Cena was to blame for all of this. He said that he could have prevented it from happening had he accepted the title shot in the first place. Orton knew that Cena wanted the rematch, and William Regal made the match official for Unforgiven. John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. His final words were that he wishes Cena's father never forgives his son for what happened last week. Then the leader of C Nation appeared. He had this disappointed look on his face and decided to let out all that aggression onto the Raw general manager, William Regal. On the final Raw before Unforgiven, the interim general manager, Jonathan Coachman, managed to ban John Cena from the building. Randy Orton took advantage of this, and he had a few words to say about the upcoming WWE Championship match. Orton reminded everybody that at Unforgiven, it'll be 1 year since the champ became champ. And he also said that in Cena's past title defenses, it wasn't personal. This time, though, it was different. The Legend Killer was very sure that he got into the champion's head, and he was confident that the title was coming home this Sunday. All of a sudden, Cena sprinted right into the ring. They kinda brawled, but security pulled Cena away. The coach was getting an earful from Vince, and the champ with security by his side told the boss that as a man, he knows exactly what John will do to Randy Orton at Unforgiven. He was almost reduced to tears in delivering the statement. As for their match at Unforgiven, it was pretty disappointing. Compared to their match at SummerSlam, you'd think it was two different athletes that were out there. I think the belief was Orton's winning the gold. Kind of made sense, but I think since the match didn't main event, the expectations were something else. John Cena's father was in attendance for this one, and anyways, it just didn't click at all. I do have fond memories of this entire pay-per-view though, but I can acknowledge that it was pretty bad. Add to the fact that it ended in a DQ, yeah, it was underwhelming. Orton dragged Cena's father out of the crowd, only to get his ass kicked, and funny enough, Cena Sr. actually punted Orton, which was pretty hilarious. So this match was just to advance the story. Right afterwards, the coach was shouting at Cena Sr. and announced another rematch. This time, it will be a last man standing match. The Cenas were all proud and happy, but that would take a turn the next night in Nashville. As expected, John Cena opened the show with a little promo. Cena felt fabulous, the fans booed, and he said that a weight was lifted off his shoulders. He said that he felt good about the DQ loss from last night, and sure, he lost to Orton, but he was eager to face him in a last man standing match. The coach, though, turned that smile upside down when he booked Cena's father in a match against Randy Orton. Initially, Coach was going to just strip him of the title, but Senior came to terms. As for that match, well, let's just say it was the final time we saw Cena Senior in a while. John had to watch his father suffer, and Orton was taking his time slowly. It was a methodical or beat down. We all know how those go. The damage was already done. cue the No Mercy song because Cena was ready to straight up destroy Orton at the pay-per-view. The next week, Jonathan Coachman announced that he suspended Randy Orton indefinitely. Now, the reason why this was done was because Orton was getting married that week. He did appear on the Titantron, though, to congratulate John Cena on being the biggest phony in WWE history. He thought John deliberately got himself disqualified, knowing that he couldn't win that match. He did, however, give him credit for making people forget about it so quickly by having Dad punt him or in the head. Randy Orton thought that Cena Sr. was taking away his way of making a living, trying to kick him, and that's why he enjoyed beating him on Raw the previous week. The Viper suggested his opponent bring his father next week so he could show us to come at No Mercy, and he proclaimed himself to be the last man standing. Meanwhile, the coach had the choice of stripping Cena of the gold, per Mr. McMahon, and even wished that he was the one who was in the ring with Mr. Cena last week. So basically, the title reign of John Cena's, the title's fate is in the hands of Jonathan Coachman. This was due to his actions, John's actions, earlier that night. He put his hands on authority, so the coach is in the ring. He's implying that the longest title reign in nearly 20 years is coming to an end, and he called out Cena. Basically, what he wanted was for the champion to beg and plead to keep his title, and even then he still might strip him of the gold. Cena didn't utter a single word, and instead was looking for a fight. Now, for some reason, a referee informed Lillian Garcia some very special information. She announced a tables match between Cena and the coach. This was per Mr. McMahon. So, he wasn't going to be stripped of the title, and it was on. I swear, this is the most Vince McMahon thing ever. He changed his mind just like that. The match was back and forth, action befitting of a WrestleMania main event, and Cena ended up FUing him through the table. On the final Raw before No Mercy, champion was set to face Mr. Kennedy. Before the match, however, he discussed No Mercy. He knew that everybody had their doubts about him, but he assured everyone that he's going to beat Randy Orton at No Mercy so badly. So badly that the fans won't forget about it. Now, about his match with Mr. Kennedy, other than the fact that it was the first match ever, their first match ever, it wasn't memorable. That is until Cena injured his shoulder. Once they realized it, the match ended abruptly. What did he injure? What did he tear? He tore his right pectoral muscle completely off the bone. Right after the match, Orton RKO'd Cena, proving his claim of being in Chicago were lies, and he gave everybody a little preview of No Mercy. Hell, he even RKO'd him on top of the announce table. Now, it's crazy to me how Cena looked past the injury in order to do these spots. Like, it just shows the level of dedication he had to the industry. Orton counted all the way to 10, and unfortunately, this wasn't official. Now, he knew he was injured. They just didn't know how badly it was, and he even said, quote unquote, no matter how serious the injury is, one way or another, I'll be ready to compete on Sunday. The next night on ECW, Vince McMahon opened the show to address the status of the WWE Championship. He informed everybody that Cena's right pectoral muscle was completely torn, and with his injury, he could be out from 6 months to a year. Damn. So he announced that John Cena is no longer WWE Champion. The fans booed, and Vince didn't want the title to be vacant for so long. He announced the WWE Championship match for No Mercy, and he guaranteed a new champion. I believe had Cena appeared at No Mercy, he was going to lose the title. I also heard a rumor that they were going to have Hell in a Cell at Cyber Sunday, but it's kind of doubtful to me because Taker and Batista ended up having it the next month. So who was going to be the next champion? Rumors suggested Orton. YTJ could make his return, but we all know what happened in the end. So that's John Cena's title reign. Honestly, it should have ended in much grander fashion. Imagine if he was injured and came into the ring, took an RKO or whatever. It's a shame. He couldn't compete, although he wanted to, and yeah, like, it was a very anticlimactic ending to the longest title reign in nearly 20 years. My personal opinion on the title reign is that it was pretty good. Problem was the fact that Cena already held the title 2 times earlier. They kind of had enough of him, you know. Not everyone, because he had a noticeable, like, fan base. Me personally, I believe this was his best damn title reign because, for one, it was the best set of matches he ever had in his career. Like, the awesome stretch he had from January of 07 all the way up to August. One of the best stretches in WWE history for sure, like, in a title reign. Every match he had was elite, barring the Kali ones. And he carried the company on his back. Like, for good or for bad, they relied on him. At the Royal Rumble in Madison Square Garden, you had an all-star lineup of talent vying for the chance to make it to the main event of WrestleMania. At the time, I assume everyone thought Triple H was winning it. You know, it made sense. He was slowly gaining momentum. He destroyed Umaga, Carlito, and it just made sense because he was the biggest babyface on Raw. Chaos is unfolding in the ring. Triple H hits a pedigree on Umaga, and it's time for number 30. You hear that familiar music, the commentary is confused, and by God, it's John Cena. Madison Square Garden erupted. They went insane because this man was out for 3.5 months. Nobody expected him to be back so soon. And any other person, they'll be out until the summer, but John Cena's built different. Triple H couldn't or refused to believe it, and before they could brawl, Mark Henry ruined everything. He pays the price, as do a bunch of the guys in the ring, and before you do it, John Cena and Triple H are brawling in a clash nobody expected. At least nobody expected that night. It's a special moment, an insane turn of events. As expected, John Cena emerged victorious and won the right to challenge for the title he never lost. Personal experience, I didn't watch the Rumble live. For some reason, I didn't check the results the next day either, but instead I watched Raw, so I had no idea. The moment I saw Cena, I just wanted him to win. I didn't know what actually happened, so seeing him as the victor was really exciting. He was my favorite wrestler by far, and those 4 months with him gone felt much longer. The next night on Raw, John Cena addressed his return at the Rumble. Even though he was back, some of the fans were back to booing him. He talked about how he was out with a torn pectoral. They still booed, but he was happy. He was happy to hear them booing. The doctors informed him that he was out for 12 months, and even though it was a struggle, he realized that it was definitely going to miss WrestleMania. At least that's what he thought initially. So instead of taking the doctor's word for it, he took a risk and aimed to be back before WrestleMania, and here he was. It was impossible, but he made it possible, and now he's going to WrestleMania. Mixed crowd reaction, and instead of waiting until the event, Cena thought, why not tonight? So basically, since he was the challenge for the title, he wanted the match tonight. The crowd goes crazy because a title match is a title match, and he asked a question. So Randy Orton came out. He didn't dance around the question and straight up told them that he isn't going to defend the title tonight. Why? Orton went on about his previous challengers and how he beat them, and Cena acknowledged this and also acknowledged that Orton was the one who took him out. Cena brought out his disadvantage in order to goad Orton into accepting the match. It was a smart tactic because, as Cena said, by WrestleMania he'll be healed up. However, Orton was smarter now. Like, why would he defend the title on Raw? The fans aren't going to be paying for it, and he sure as hell won't benefit. So he turned down the match instead for the next pay-per-view. No Way Out. Cena won the match, and it was on. However, he still held resentment over Orton taking all this away from him and promised something for tonight. About that, yeah, Cena was ready for a fight. He dropped Orton with ease and sent a message ahead of February 17th. In an effort to shut Cena up and prevent a Mbappe and Real Madrid situation, Orton wanted Cena to sign the contract for the match at No Way Out. The thing is, either way for Orton, he was good. If he was too scared, well, he holds the title longer without defending it. Turns out he was more than eager to make this match official. Orton let him know, hey, the match is still on at No Way Out, even if Mark Henry tears that pectoral muscle, and there he is. The little distraction is more than enough for Orton to drop him with the RKO. The momentum was clearly on Henry's side for the arm wrestling match, and it also didn't help that Henry attacked his arm, but John Cena's built different. We said this once, we'll say it again. Just as he's gonna drop Henry, he's gonna win the arm wrestling match. It was revealed to be a setup. The attack backfired and Henry took an FU. So basically, it had seemed like Randy Orton underestimated Cena greatly. He was back. He didn't lose a step, and it showed here. It also showed in the match against Mark Henry, and it spelled disaster for Orton at No Way Out. Cena knew this was his to win because Orton was now the hunted. For him, there's no excuses. He's now 100%, but for Orton, though, there's no way out. The former champion was in form. He looked almost unstoppable, and in storyline, Orton knew this. About the match, I somewhat underrated it in the past. I knew it was decent, but after watching it for that No Way Out 2008 review, I liked it more. It grew on me. The atmosphere for the match was nice. The action was decent, and it was on its way to becoming something good. As John Cena is gaining momentum, Orton realizes he's got no chance of winning this match. Cena had this look on his face like, is that all you got? And so he slaps the hell out of the referee to retain the title by disqualification. He has a smile on his face like he actually accomplished something. The match is over, and John Cena's title shot is gone. So what does he do? He retaliates with the FU and the STFU. He taps out Orton, but the match was over. What is he going to do? Cena whoops his ass, but he's got no title. For Orton, he had yet to focus on Triple H now, but the Royal Rumble winner still wanted a rematch. Triple H, though, didn't give a damn. If Cena beats Orton or vice versa, he's going to be champion at WrestleMania. William Regal, though, ruined everything. He made a match between Orton and Cena for the main event, and if Cena wins, he's added to the match at WrestleMania. The game was annoyed by this, but he was made the special referee. Even though the situation didn't benefit him, Triple H counted Orton's shoulders down the mat, making it a triple threat match. He then congratulated Cena with a pedigree before dropping Orton as well and giving everyone a preview of what's to come. Cena was not that happy about this, but at the same time, he was thankful of Triple H not disqualifying him. He was still annoyed about that pedigree though, don't take that away. Triple H admitted that he let Cena win because he wants him in the match at WrestleMania. Cena of course had to talk about WrestleMania 22 and how Triple H tapped out. At the same time, Randy Orton reminded him that he was here and told him that it doesn't matter what happens, he's the WWE champion. The man even took a jab at Cena and told him the champ is here and that there's nothing they can do about it. They put it to the test and brawled, and for Randy Orton, this provided him a huge opportunity to capitalize, and that's what he did here. The tensions between John Cena and Triple H was still there at the end of the show. Both men were hungry and craving a fight, but Cena, though, left his eyes off Kennedy, who gave him the mic check. With WrestleMania 4 weeks away, William Regal wanted some drama, so he's given each man a night to run the show. Orton was pissed and tried to deal with the other, saying they should have the night off when the other takes over. He's like, oh, look out for me, I'll look out for you. Since Cena was first, he made Triple H and Randy Orton face off in the main event. As expected, it ended in high drama with each man getting at one another, either intentionally or unintentionally. The man who seemed unlikely to stand on top was the one who was left unscathed. Orange Knight was next, and instantly he was out for blood. He made Triple H face Kane, and for John Cena, he faced one of the only men that decisively beat him in the last 2 years, Shawn Michaels. Both men fell like hell. They had to face their previous WrestleMania opponents, but for Triple H, it was only going to get better. Why? Well, instead of doing the same thing, running Raw and having those two face off, he wanted Cena and Orton as a tag team against the entire Raw roster. Just saying it sounds ridiculous, but it was going to be a 17-on-2 tag team match. For their sake, they had to coexist. Even then, Orton wanted Cena to lay down and lose the match for them, and he wouldn't do it because he's a champion. Cena got angry, talking about how they'll fight like men, but Triple H informed them that it's elimination rules. Now, John Cena and Randy Orton were basically 97, 96 overall at the time. Half of the guys were not even in their league. Trevor Murdoch, easy. Lance Cade, like nothing. Cody Rhodes, no problem. And at some points, they properly integrated into the match and worked like a tag team. And watching this match makes me sad there isn't a John Cena and Randy Orton tag team. As expected, the match went south and it ended by DQ. It was so damn chaotic, and to top it all off, Triple H came in and hit the pedigree on both of them. With regards to the match at WrestleMania, good. It's a highlight from the show easily. Is it match of the night? No, but it complements the rest of the show. John Cena had a marching band entrance, which for some reason doesn't stand out compared to his other WrestleMania entrances. The results of the match wasn't set in stone, although I assume most thought Triple H would win. John Cena had an advantage as well, but I doubt anybody thought Orton was winning. The match itself, it just clicked. The atmosphere, the lighting was unique, I loved it. The action was very pleasant, and it certainly doesn't overstay its welcome. As a kid, I thought John Cena was winning. Why? Because other than being John Cena, he was undefeated at WrestleMania, and at the time, I couldn't fathom Cena losing at the show of shows. Not only did that happen, but he took the pinfall as well. I was flabbergasted like my name was Luka Doncic last week, but seriously, looking back at it, it's almost surprising that he did take the pinfall. Obviously, Triple H was the next champion, but this was the face of the company, the guy they were pushing the most. Regardless, either way, this was one of Randy Orton's most special nights. He emerged from the situation as the champion when almost nobody expected him to. I know I didn't. Now, following WrestleMania, John Cena still complained and wanted a title match. Problem was, JBL and Triple H wanted one as well. JBL and Triple H, though, managed to get into the match, and so John Cena was like, why don't we make it a fatal 4-way? Regal was enticed, but he needed Cena to prove that he truly wants it. How's he going to do that? Well, it's got to be both JBL and Triple H in a handicap match. Now, these two hate each other, but they also hate John Cena, and JBL tried to rest his case to form a partnership. Unfortunately for him, it fell on deaf ears. If anything, they imploded, and even Randy Orton was affected. So he tried to return the favor. In doing so, he basically handed the title opportunity to John Cena. Triple H couldn't give a damn, and it was officially a fatal 4-way. Of course, JBL had a problem with this. He was extremely frustrated with his title shot turning into a fatal 4-way. But the problem with this, though, was the fact that Regal was in London. He was in his home country and stood up to the evil wannabe tyrant. Even then, JBL turned a negative, that being a match with Triple H, into a positive and teased what's to come. Ahead of Backlash, John Cena gave his final words. He said that each man has their claim to the title, but him, he's gonna make them earn it. Why? Because he's ready to bring the thunder. I mean, even Cena knew he was losing by the sounds of this promo. That doesn't mean he lacked momentum, it's just others such as JBL and Triple H shined brighter. The match at Backlash is not exactly a gem. I'd say it's decent though. The match was basically Triple H's crowning moment, but it also provided John Cena his next feud, JBL. During the match, JBL found himself in the STFU. He tapped out and Cena ended up taking a punt later to be eliminated. As expected, Triple H eventually won the title. The next night on Raw, frustrated, JBL destroyed Robbie McAllister and told the commentary team that this should have been John Cena. He took away what he wanted most, and now he's ready to destroy him. Soon enough, the match was confirmed. It was going to be John Cena and JBL at Judgment Day. As the weeks went by, Bradshaw was still upset with his title opportunity being taken away and was going to destroy anyone in sight. The build for the match was pretty dry, and this had to do with John Cena's movie commitments. He was busy with 12 rounds. But they did have one last confrontation on the Raw before Judgment Day. After pissing off William Regal, JBL was made the special referee for his match, for John Cena's match, with Randy Orton. As if Cena could give a damn. This only caused him to be screwed over and, of course, attacked. Triple H had to make the save, leading to an all-out brawl. The one thing that's shocking about their match at Judgment Day was the fact that they opened the show. John Cena never opened the show in this era. It's weird. But as for how this went, there's a reason why this match isn't talked about often. It was just average. JBL seemed to have the match won, but John Cena pulled a John Cena. Nonetheless, this was far from over, and it was clear that Cena barely won, and JBL was greatly affected by this. At this point, JBL felt that John Cena being in his way ruins his chances of winning the WWE title. So he challenged Cena to a first blood match at One Night Stand. This one was way better than the Judgment Day match. That's not me over-exaggerating the quality, because it's just decent. Nothing special. For John Cena, though, he finally bounced back in a huge way. He was winning some matches around here, but he didn't win them with authority like he did with this one. This was the most intensity Cena showed in months. Another thing that WWE was doing around this time was teasing John Cena and Mickie James. For some reason, they were often around each other, and it was never outright stated they were together, but it was clear what the intention was. With one night stand behind him, John Cena felt it was time to re-enter the title picture. Cena's reasoning for a title shot was simple. You never beat me. So he asked the game if he was ready, and if you watched WWE in early 2008, you know that Triple H was irritated with how John Cena beat him 2 years earlier. Problem was, Jeff Hardy wanted some as well, and similar to Triple H and Cena, he won a match as well at One Night Stand. It was clear what Hardy wanted, and Triple H refused to get in the way. All he wanted was a challenger, it's as simple as that. So Hardy wanted a match with John Cena, winner faces Triple H. Mr. McMahon made it seem like it was his idea, and the match was official. How did this match happen only once? I don't know, it just seems like one of the biggest matches they could have done at the time. Maybe it's because Hardy left, I don't know. This one, it's easily a hitting gem. Even if it wasn't going to be good, just the sight of Jeff Hardy and John Cena would have been good enough for you to view it. During the match, a fan randomly ran in. The crowd was hot for this one, and I just wish this happened again a year later. It was John Cena who stood tall here to win the right to face Triple H. The game quickly came out to remind Cena what's in store at Night of Champions, and both men were extremely confident of their chances at the event. For John Cena, he's already proven he could beat Triple H. Winning the title is no problem. For Triple H, he's changed a lot in 2 years. Holding that title proves he's the best, and Cena's got to come to terms with that. Sure, WrestleMania 22 happened, but that was then, and this is now. JBL, meanwhile, was almost hell-bent on ruining Cena's day with the game. His match with the challenger was observed by the champion, and this almost hurt Cena. Beating JBL was a struggle, but Cena barely did it. Even though the match was 3 weeks away, this didn't stop Triple H from being petty. He dropped Cena off the announce table ahead of his match with Jeff Hardy. Cena then took this as an opportunity to watch his opponent. Problem was, the action came to him and he was ready to fight. This basically meant John Cena cost Triple H his match with Hardy, but Hardy couldn't give a damn. He decided, I'm gonna go with a crossbody, and he stood on top. The following week, John Cena talked about iconic moments that are still talked about to this very day, and he claimed that he'll create one when he wins the title at Night of Champions. Triple H, though, stopped him there. He agreed with them that the match will be a moment, but at the same time, he struggled to not believe this was personal. The game warned Cena over last week and threatened him. The challenger, though, took great offense to this double standard, because Triple H was the one who got involved in this business earlier. And the champion said that he did a favor for Cena because he was going to fall anyways, because he's uncoordinated. So Cena mentioned WrestleMania 22. He shouted that nothing's changed, but Triple H showed him what's changed. Cena had enough. He had enough of hearing that Triple H is a measuring stick, and if anything, he's nothing until he beats him. Triple H believed that Cena was too scared to disappoint his fans, but then realized that most of his fans aren't going to be up past their bedtimes. Then he asked them to tell a kid to give him a phone bell to ease the pain. Out of everything that got him mad, this was the one thing that frustrated him. These two were seconds away from clashing. They were ready for a fight, but McMahon wanted to give away some money. Cena's issues with Triple H affected him once more, as after trying to save him from an attack, the game dropped him and they traded strikes. This situation worked well for Jericho and Lance Cade, who were eager to make an impact. It went from bad to worse for Cena as Triple H was drafted to SmackDown, and he was more upset than Triple H, but the game was desperate to tell him that the match is still on. So that's the build. It's easily the best thing since Cena returned. And plus, when Cena usually talks about how he's going to win, blah, 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 he praises his opponent and goes on some babyface speech. Here, he was petty with Triple H. He's like, oh, even though you have that title, you're irrelevant. He was also constantly mentioning WrestleMania 22 as if it didn't happen 2 years earlier. Triple H, on the other hand, knew that that was in the past and things were different now, and it was also one of the most unpredictable matches of 2008. Edge on the other side retained this title. Surely they won't have Cena lose. The match itself was good, hell, maybe even great. I have a very soft spot for it because, for one, WWE rarely does good guy versus good guy main events, but when they do, for the most part, they deliver. This one was sublime, and one of the reasons why you don't hear about it is because it wasn't on the biggest stage. I mean, this match should have been on SummerSlam. It had all the qualities of a superb SummerSlam main event. I also believe they surpassed WrestleMania 22. For one, Triple H was in form. He had some nice matches in the past few months. Cena was way better than he was in 2006, so that helps. It was a well-done main event, and it was exactly what you would expect from Cena and Triple H. Intensity, action, and drama. Both men brought it. In the end, Triple H was victorious and took the title with him to SmackDown. For Cena, his horrid 2008 continued to be disappointing. The next night on Raw, John Cena admitted that he lost with pride. He claimed that the match proved that himself and Triple H are two of the best, and the match will go down in history. Then he mentioned CM Punk's cash-in and said that he wasn't happy with JBL bullying his way into winning a title. But then he realized that he, Cena, could challenge him. The choice was with CM Punk. After the fans cheered that potential match, Cena told JBL to take his ass back to New York. He preferred otherwise. JBL said that he was declaring martial law in WWE and claimed that his God-given destiny was to win the title tonight. But in order for that to happen, Cena's got to be out of the building. Oh, Alberto Del Rio. The man brought his own security, and with force, they kicked Cena out. Knowing that security was an issue, Cena called for crime time. JBL got distracted, and Punk retains the title. It went from bad to worse for JBL as John Cena opted to ruin his limousine. And this was for his protection, apparently. John Cena claimed that the vehicle wasn't gonna pass inspection, and so crime time were gonna fix this. JBL was losing it, and then Cena decided to spray JBL is poopy. This was the month WWE went PG, that's why. Later that night, neither man won the right to challenge CM Punk for the World Championship. It was Batista. As for JBL, he was fuming. He wanted John Cena in a New York City parking lot brawl match. Cena saw this as a good opportunity, an opportunity to find out if careers will be cut short. Cena was sick of this fake American, and if anything, he wanted to take this great American and destroy him. Cena was poised to fight. He wasn't promising victory, but he guaranteed that there will be hell. He said that he will come with the rage of 1,000 pit bulls and will not stop until he remembers the name John Cena. And if it wasn't obvious, he accepted. After waiting for half an hour, I assume, crime time were brought out because John Cena wanted to challenge JBL to a tag team match. Okay, this was one hell of a promo. Weird how nobody talks about it. But then again, I say this for a bunch of things. John Cena showed so much emotion and intensity with this promo and sold you on the fact that he was going to fight. He was out to fight, not win the match. Unfortunately for him, though, his challenge almost led to disaster. After JBL ran to the back, Cena was on guard. He knew that Bradshaw was up to something, and he was right because JBL dropped him with a tire iron and decided to pull something straight out of SVR 2006. Why? Because he was going to run John Cena over. Turns out Cena ran away, and thinking about this, it was ridiculous. JBL wanted to, I assume, do it for The Rock in a time when WWE is going PG. Plus, even if it was TV-14, why the hell would JBL run him over? Anyways, I kind of like the match from the bash. It's not as good as previous parking lot brawls, but it has its own charm, I guess. Once again, JBL was out to kill Cena like it was nothing, and I don't know what the hell is up with these 2000 heels. They're too much. Cena left unscathed and was vengeful. He turned into Stone Cold for a minute, brought the action to the arena, and he had the match won, but he screwed up and JBL shockingly won it. Decent match. It's not like good, it's not great, it's not anything like that, but maybe you'll like it. This JBL feud was not the best. It's honestly forgettable. Take away the limousine thing and the Crime Time Association, you won't remember much from this feud. You know, it wasn't as good as 2005. 2005 established John Cena as a star. It showed that he was the man, all that, and it was all thanks to JBL. As for the other things, my favorite part of this run was obviously John Cena's feud with Triple H. I loved how Cena was being petty. It wasn't no goody two-shoe anymore. He was straight up, oh, you're irrelevant. You never beat me, yada, yada, yada. We don't see that often with John Cena. With the Randy Orton and Triple H thing, he was in the background a bit. He was losing a lot. He wasn't doing much. And plus, like, compared to every other John Cena video I make, he didn't have that much TV time. Obviously, he had a lot of TV time because he's John Cena. But when compared to other time periods, just wasn't that much. My favorite match from this video was clearly John Cena vs. Triple H at Night of Champions. That was one of the best matches of 2008, one of my favorites. They delivered it. It had that big fight feel. The atmosphere was nice. All of that. I loved it. My favorite program, same thing, Triple H. One of the most hyped dream matches of the 2000s has to be John Cena and Batista. Ever since they rose to the top, it just had to happen. Their rise was practically similar, from OVW to becoming the most over wrestler on Raw or SmackDown. Very rarely would they interact, but you knew it was going to happen. And then it came. WWE thought it was best to have them feud in the summer of 2008, and at this point, their star power was the highest it had been. Both men were on the same brand, and it made sense because SummerSlam that year was billed as the biggest party of the summer. John Cena had just come off a feud with JBL, whereas Batista was still using his unlimited title shot cheat code. Now, before this video starts, this was supposed to be in the 2008 John Cena return video. I screwed up. I thought it was going to be long. There was going to be this long-ass build, even though it was a month and all that, but turns out it was short. So I apologize for that, and I decided, let's just make it. With that said, let's get into it. On the July 21st, 2008 episode of Raw, Batista challenged for the World Heavyweight Championship. As he's gaining momentum, JBL decides to interfere. John Cena makes the save, but because JBL raked him, he accidentally dropped Batista. He was more than angry, and these two had to be forcefully separated. In light of this, John Cena addressed what had occurred, and the crowd was not happy to see him because, for one, Raw was in Washington, D.C. Cena admitted that he wasn't perfect and said that he made a mistake. He told Batista that if he wants to settle these problems, they can do it right now. He came out. Batista was understanding and realized that Cena never meant to hit him. He showed respect to Cena and told him that he'll be the first man he defends the title against. But then things took a turn. Now, Batista wanted a title shot. John Cena wanted a title shot as well. He mentioned how Batista had 2 title shots in the past, and he got frustrated. The Animal said that CM Punk couldn't beat him and neither could Cena, and the champ considered this a WrestleMania main event match but thought, why not tonight? Batista was more than eager to have the match, but Shane McMahon decided to book a tag team match involving the two. Fast forward to the end of the night, Cena pins Kane in the tag team match after tagging himself in, and Shane McMahon randomly introduced Mike Adamle as the GM of Raw. Raw in the summer of 2008 was just weird. His first act was to book these two in a match at SummerSlam. They had a tense stare-down to end the show, and to make matters worse, Mike Adamle booked them to challenge for the tag team championships. Batista didn't give a damn, and while he preferred to challenge for the world title, if beating John Cena gets him the shot, then so be it. As for tonight, John Cena better stay out of his way. On the other hand, his rival knew who he was facing. He knew that this was going to be the ultimate showdown for SummerSlam, and he's been wanting this match for a bit now. They've always been competitive, and he knew that eventually it's going to happen, and now is the time. But now Mike Adamle has placed him in a title match. Cena was hoping they'd win, but he was expecting anything. About this one, DiBiase and Rhodes showed their tag team expertise, isolating John Cena slowly. The fans were trying to get him back into it, but to no avail. Their strategy was working extremely well and provided Cena a huge disadvantage. Tensions between Cena and Batista was still there, and once he tagged in, he decided to slap the hell out of Batista and he unlocked the Animal. Batista was unstoppable, and before they knew it, they won the championships. Then they did the whole title thing and tried to top the other to end the show. So they were going to do the tag team champion thing, you know, rivals become partners, can they coexist, This is something WWE does a lot nowadays, even more so than they did in the past. More so in the past, John Cena was the one involved. He was involved with HBK, The Miz. I feel like he was involved with somebody else as well. But anyways, on the final Raw before SummerSlam, John Cena kicked off the show to talk about the events of last week in SummerSlam. Cena said that he didn't have a problem with Batista before, but all of a sudden he's mad at him. To top it all off, he's tag team champions with him, and after complaining about Mike Adamle, he said that all you need to hype a John Cena Batista match is having them in the same ring. And honestly, it's as simple as that, because if you have John Cena and Batista in the same ring, especially in 2007-8, you're going to get hyped. Batista, on the other hand, was also watching Cena. They both won the Rumble, main evented WrestleMania, and they've done it all. He mocked Cena for doing stupid things and understood why people over the age of 15 wanted to see him kick his ass. The champ was starting to get frustrated, but Batista told him to calm down. Just as they're ready for a fight, Cena wanted to shake Batista's hand. They do that and go their separate ways for the moment. In other places, Rhodes and DiBiase, meanwhile, felt that those two were going to act on ego, and unlike them, they weren't going to work as a team. What Rhodes and DiBiase were talking about was true. Those two were not a good tag team. They clashed, and the challengers took advantage to win back their titles. These two were close to exploding, and after dealing with Rhodes and DiBiase, Batista wanted Cena. He's walking away, but because the fans wanted this to happen, tempers flared, and the tag team imploded. Security struggled to separate these explosive wrestlers, and that's the build to SummerSlam. It kind of makes you want to see the match, and it's basically nothing extravagant, but that part of it was well done, you know, the ending. Other than that, it just randomly started. There wasn't no slow build or anything like that. Cena just dropped Batista on the night after Great American Bash. There wasn't no tease after the draft or anything like that, which honestly this feud deserved because it was John Cena and Batista. They deserved to have a long drawn out story leading to their big match, but they eventually did that in 2010. As for their match at SummerSlam, nice. It was two men who shared a similar path to the top. From the OVW warehouse all the way to WrestleMania 21, John Cena and Batista were by far two of the biggest wrestlers from this decade, and a match between the two seemed so unlikely. 3 years passed, yet we still never got that match until now. Early on, Batista's power proved to be his advantage. He displayed strength and aggression unlike his opponent, and it wasn't like Cena was weak, rather the contrary. It's just Batista stood out more. Plus, he was targeting his leg intelligently, going for a bunch of things. Cena had to rely on adrenaline and courage, and with one leg, he was able to find himself back in the match and take advantage of an opening. Still, though, the Animal's brute strength provided him opportunities. And this was when the match kicked into high gear. Neither man's strategy was working, so at this point, they were like, screw it. Both men were kicking out of spears, FUs, and showed great resiliency, but then John Cena went to the top. He was going for a leg drop when Batista caught him and dropped him with a Batista bomb. 1, 2, no. This unlocked another side of Batista, who booted Cena and hit the Batista bomb. 1, 2, 3. Awesome match. Is it one of the best matches of the year? Well, debatable. The thing that makes this so good is that it was a superhero fight, essentially. Two fan favorites giving it their all. It also helps that the match didn't overstay its welcome. It was 14 minutes, yet was one of WWE's best matches from that year. Good stuff. It served as a great precursor to WrestleMania 26. And while it was all nice, we got to see this great match and all that. For John Cena, on the other hand, he suffered a herniated disc during the match. This occurred when he took that Batista bomb and it left him sidelined for about 3 months. As a result of this, he was replaced for the Championship Scramble match at Unforgiven, and it may have seemed like a rematch was doubtful, but after Cena returned, it was obvious where this was heading. He was world champion, Batista was feuding with Randy Orton. It was clear as day that these two were going to face off in a rematch at WrestleMania 25, but then Batista got injured, and WrestleMania 25's match turned into WrestleMania 26. That's the feud. Honestly, it was short as hell. These two deserved a long feud, which they eventually got. But this one, as I said, it was rushed. It was like, hey, we got to do something for SummerSlam quickly. I feel like they should have added a bit more to the build-up. Perhaps begin the build after Night of Champions and then go from there. That would have been much better, but it is what it is. At least we got a good match out of it, so yeah. 2008 wasn't the kindest year to John Cena. Inside and outside the ring, his form dropped severely when compared to 2007 when he was on top of the world. Cena was the man in 07, but that's old news. His 2008 didn't rival 07 at all, which was in all honesty probably his best year ever. So it's not like he was going up against a normal year. His status as the #1 guy was somewhat downgraded in favor of others like Randy Orton and Triple H. His year wasn't no 2008 Tom Brady because he actually had some great moments. But at the end of the day though, he fell down to yet another injury. This time, a neck injury. Cena was left sidelined for the rest of the summer and early fall. On November 3rd, 2008 episode of Raw, the 800th episode, Shane McMahon announced that the world champion, the winner of the steel cage match, will face the returning John Cena. Batista and Jericho go out there. The 100K incident occurs in which Batista bladed and was caught, and Jericho captured the title. For Y2J, or the man formerly known as Y2J, he saw John Cena as a bad influence and saw himself as the man that could prevent chaos from occurring, because if John Cena's champion, all hell's gonna break loose. Did Jericho go to sleep in 2005 and suddenly wake up in 2008? This version of John Cena being wild, bro is one step close to joining Sesame Street rather than being wild. But anyways, Chris Jericho felt that everyone wasn't focusing on him and his success recently. Everyone's talking about John Cena. He's talked about as a hero, yet he's never conquered him. It was a foregone conclusion for the champion. He went through Shawn Michaels, CM Punk, and Batista, and he refused to allow Cena to come in and take what he worked so hard for. John Cena is not the centerpiece of Raw, it's him. Jericho said that Raw won't be saved until he puts off the fire that is John Cena. So this is what it is. Chris Jericho's imaginary burden of carrying Raw brought him to the belief that John Cena's toxicity was poisoning the brand. His self-interest also came into play though, because he had just won the title and clearly didn't want to let it go so soon. For John Cena, it was redemption. The situation was entirely in his favor. Hometown crowd at the TD Garden. Experience in the main event scene. It wasn't working out well for Jericho in that area. The only thing that was a bit unfortunate about this situation is that Chris Jericho was clearly losing. He had some amazing work during this entire run, but never had a lengthy title reign. Cena had these video packages being played, half the roster was talking about him, and no way was he losing. And even though it was Boston, Cena received a mixed reaction. His scar was apparent, but so was his emotions. He was happy to be back. The champion's approach was based on experience. Having to go after Cena's neck would do a number on him, and the challenger had that sense of urgency to lock in the STFU, but that didn't materialize yet. It was very back and forth early on. Cena's confidence wasn't at its fullest yet, and he feared climbing up to the top, and Jericho took advantage of this. He eventually took control and isolated the neck, the surgically repaired neck of John Cena's. Cena's strength, though, was enough to break through. His momentum, though, was nowhere to be found. After Jericho's cooldown period, he opened up and Cena was up for the 5-knuckle shuffle. He didn't hit and Jericho locked him in the walls. The champion was working hard to make this an underwhelming return for the hometown hero, but this was Super Cena. He hit the FU from out of nowhere but failed to take advantage. Cena overcame his fear of the top rope and connected with a leg drop, but the FU wasn't to be, and boom, code breaker. 1, 2, no. The hope was fading. Fans were booing Jericho. He's going for something when Cena catches him in the STFU. With all of Jericho's will to protect the Raw roster, he almost reached the rope. He managed to escape though. Cena lifted him, showing his brute strength, and hit the FU. 1, 2, 3, new champion. Before the match, I was leaning towards solid, but this was good, especially for a rusty John Cena who hadn't wrestled in 3 months. He returned to form almost instantly, and it also helps that a veteran like Chris Jericho was his first match back. They could work the basic story but make it good. So now the champ is back. For Chris Jericho, he had to earn a rematch, and that's what he did. So now, he was the #1 contender for the title at Armageddon. As for John Cena, he had yet to make his return on Raw, so Jericho wanted to be a one-man welcoming committee. Cena, though, preferred to insult him elsewhere. He said that Jericho thinks he's better than everyone else, and he praised the fans and told Y2J that he's not liked. And about the welcoming committee thing, if he wants to welcome them, then welcome them right now. Jericho looked on in pure disdain as Cena descended from the top of the arena. The champ said that the fans care about the WWE. They spend their money and enjoy the product, and without them, none of this exists. Chris Jericho bragged about the guys he beat, and Cena mocked them before adding that they're different. Why? He talks business while Cena gets down to business. All Jericho could respond to this was saying 3 weeks. Of course, he was referring to Armageddon. Cena praised his abilities in ring, but trashed him for claiming he needs to save this place. Holding the title proves that they do not need saving, and it proves that the champ is here. And he's back. Jericho's very frustrated by this, telling him the champ is right here, and he told him that he's taking the title at Armageddon, and he's doing nothing about it. Why? Because he's a liar and a hypocrite like the fans he caters to. He's a flash in the pan, and there's nothing he can do about it. Jericho called him a worm and a coward before taking a beating. This one-sided beating spilled to the outside where Jericho was brutalized in many ways, and to top it all off, he locked him in the STFU. As a result of this incident, Chris Jericho brought security. Jericho was visibly upset over what had occurred and told the fans that they could cheer for John Cena. It doesn't matter because they're not worthy of being a fan of his. The only fan, though, that's worth saving is his son. Jericho spoke about how his kid became a fan of John Cena. He was a fan of the man that got him fired 3 years ago. So what did he do? He banned his son from watching WWE. That said, he's going to lift the ban at Armageddon because he wanted to destroy his hero. His real hero is going to be the one that comes home with the World Heavyweight Championship. John Cena, meanwhile, had to deal with Kane. Jericho, in an effort to get a slight advantage, told him that everyone believes John Cena is winning by submission. Kane was doubting his claims but promised to put on a show saying he loves these people. Regardless of his claims, he's going to get what he wants. Chris Jericho then approached Randy Orton and tried using his past with Cena as a way to get involved after the match, but for Orton, it was about the World Championship, and if Jericho's the champion, then so be it. So the former champion mentioned how his victory over Cena has been forgotten, and because of his return, he, Randy Orton, has become an afterthought. As expected, Cena struggled with the match. Kane was far too powerful, but then he realized, hey, I'm John Cena. This is when Chris Jericho interfered. Jericho's attack was thwarted and the champ won. His focus was immediately on him and a one-sided brawl ensues. All of a sudden, Cody Rhodes and Manu came out to even or uneven the odds, and to top it all off, Randy Orton was here. Batista chance intensifies. Jericho finally has his way with Cena. And Raw ended with Cena writhing in pain. On this incident, Cena mentioned the 3 words that Chris Jericho feels no longer exist: hustle, loyalty, and respect. He started talking about how Jericho's son wasn't poisoned. It's because he saw his father and felt that he deserved a beating. If it was Jericho who was beaten up by 5 men last week, he'd be complaining about how Cena should be suspended and stripped of the title. But he wouldn't do that. He was looking forward to the Slammy Awards and facing Edge. Hell, he's going to fight Chris Jericho too tonight. He ended the interview saying hustle, loyalty, and respect is the code that he lives by, and Jericho's about to get the definition of the word respect. And about that, yeah, Cena was a man of his word. He ran after Jericho right before his match with Edge, while the #1 contender made a run for it quickly and left Cena to focus on the Rated R superstar. Jericho eventually returned, causing the DQ, and Cena's attention shifted right to him. They started brawling in the crowd, and Jeff Hardy and Triple H, meanwhile, went at it in the ring. The build for Cena and Jericho comes down to the former champion's morals. He did not enjoy seeing John Cena ruin his moment and spoil his plans of holding the title. As always, he masked this with other types of reasons, but their match at Armageddon was very good. It helps that Cena was in there with Chris Jericho. What I mean by that is that he was out for a while, and you're probably going to be rusty, but he was great here. And they only had 12 minutes, which is understandable since Cena was out for a while. The most memorable spot for me was the FU countered into the code breaker. It's pretty damn good. The match was very dramatic, but I think everyone knew how it would end. But it was a journey getting there, and man, I wish these two had more matches together. There's some untapped potential with the feud, but it all came down to timing. I'm glad they feuded though. It's better that they did feud rather than the contrary. Cena, of course, emerged victorious, but the feud between the champ and Y2J wasn't entirely over. They would focus on other stuff, this and that, but they crossed paths a couple of more times after this. After a failed attack from Legacy on Batista, John Cena teamed up with the Animal in the main event. For Batista, this didn't end well as Orton punted him and left him sidelined for 4 months. It really felt like John Cena versus Randy Orton was on the horizon, especially after these turn of events, because at the time, Batista was supposed to face John Cena at WrestleMania 25. They faced off at SummerSlam. The match was good, but it lacked a storyline, and having the title would have cemented this as the battle of that era. John Cena, the face of Raw, the doctor of thugonomics, faced the whole entire company against the Animal, the former face of the company. He had that name for 2 minutes before they moved on. That sounds a lot like WrestleMania 26, and we probably would have gotten it a year earlier. I'm glad it went the way it did. Not Batista's injury, but the fact that it happened at 26. It took Batista a couple of weeks to get comfortable as a heel, and doing it here, it would have probably felt rushed, and in turn could have been a disappointing build. With Christmas coming up, Santino Marella wanted to reveal a secret. Cena exposed him as never getting a gift from years ago and told him to shut his mouth about Santa. Santino told John Cena, yeah, he called him that, he has a big mouth, and bro was on the verge of laughing. He told him to bring a partner and face Glamorella. Goldust wanted to be the partner but was unsuccessful, and by the looks of it, Santino's pretty damn over. He was in Toronto and the fans were almost going crazy for him. Just as he's about to expose Santa's secret, John Cena interrupted and told him Santa's here. He gave him one wish, and Cena was like, I want a tag team partner. It was Trish Stratus. Damn, I'll never forget watching this on Telemundo or something. I don't remember, but they had some Raw reruns on Sunday, and this memory sticks out. This was Trish's first match in about 2 years, I believe, and it ended positively. I mean, were they going to have Santino ruin Christmas? No. Other people, whenever they talk about this match, focus on Cena's business downstairs, but we're not here to talk about that. With the Royal Rumble soon, John Cena's #1 contender was to be determined by a fatal 4-way match. JBL forced Shawn Michaels to lay down for somebody. Why? Because he was his personal assistant or something like that. He was his employee. He went broke at the worst time, 2008, and had to work for Bradshaw. It was bugging him that he couldn't try to win this match, but he had to do it, and JBL was the #1 contender. The feud between himself and John Cena had a very big HBK influence to it. Cena and the Heartbreak Kid were supposed to team up the following week, and the champ had no idea whether this was going to be a 2-on-2 or a 3-on-1. Michaels told him to look at history to know what to expect. Turns out, it was the old HBK. He brought the victory to his team and Cena was left impressed. For JBL though, he praised his employee for his performance and then revealed that Michaels is facing John Cena. JBL even went as far as to say that this was HBK's WrestleMania. He also informed him that he'll be in his corner. Michaels said that if this was his WrestleMania, he doesn't need him in his corner and said that he's going to prove why he's the showstopper, the headliner. Cena had more than positive words for Michaels, telling him that he's Mr. WrestleMania and expressed dissatisfaction with facing HBK at his WrestleMania. As always, this match between Cena and Michaels was excellent. He easily stands out for WWE that year, especially for a TV match, because this thing was long, compelling, and just flat out ridiculous for a TV match. Michaels though performed like it was WrestleMania, and all it took was a tiny mistake from John Cena, and boom, sweet chin music. Tight ass match. Michaels has all the skill in the world, but that can't compensate for his lack of money. Good match. Ahead of the Royal Rumble, a contract signing was held. JBL quickly signed and said that it's official before Cena called him trash. He then told him that he wanted to talk to HBK instead. JBL's like, oh, this is about me and you, and said that HBK's only function is accompanying him to the match. The champ sensed that Michaels was going to help him win the title, otherwise why waste that much money? Cena started hyping up Michaels' talent and shouted that he still got it. He's Mr. WrestleMania, not JBL's puppet. Bradshaw had this look on his face like, are we done? And said that an employee isn't a puppet. He's well aware of Michaels' talent, that's why he hired him in the first place. The only reason he hired him though was to help him win the title and go back to his home state of Texas as the champion. And then Shawn Michaels will get what he wants, a large amount of money. It's not personal, it's just business, and this is when HBK got all angry. Fans chant his name. He says that taking money from somebody like JBL sickens him, and as for John Cena, he doesn't live in his world. All let's talk about Mr. WrestleMania? No. He has a lot of people to look after, and Michaels didn't care if helping JBL put a mark on his name or even cost John Cena the title. Then so be it, it doesn't matter to him. He's got to do the work for JBL. John told him that he's HBK. He's still got another choice, and the fans reminded him of who he was. HBK then demonstrated what his influence could do for JBL at the Rumble. This match was more about JBL and Shawn Michaels rather than John Cena. It was a minor part of the story, and their match was decent. It's not that memorable, honestly, and the action wouldn't look out of place on Raw. JBL was in control for a long stretch of the match. The pace was slow. HBK's involvement was very limited, but when it was necessary, it brought JBL an opening, and this is when I'd say the match kicked up a notch. The HBK element really helped the match pick up here. He ended up dropping JBL while Cena looked on proud like he wasn't going to get dropped a second later. It was a big tease, and JBL looked like he was winning the title, but after a minute, Cena kicked out and the crowd was all in. And all it took was one FU from Cena to retain the title. Yeah, the HBK drama elevated the match. Why? Because Cena and JBL singles matches are very forgettable. They're always best when there's some drama, whether it's I Quit or in this case HBK. It wasn't a big chance, but there was a little possibility JBL could win the title. It was very slim though. I could imagine them doing JBL versus HBK for the title at WrestleMania. But at this point, John Cena, whenever he was in the main event, whenever he's at WrestleMania, it was always for a championship. So it's on to the Elimination Chamber. Shawn Michaels was placed in JBL's position to face John Cena the next night on Raw. Bradshaw refused to compete and wanted to have an advantage, and their drama ended up costing JBL, which meant he wasn't walking to WrestleMania, which was in Houston, as champion. After Chris Jericho went on a tirade against Ric Flair and Mickey Rourke, John Cena finally shut him up and mocked him. He thought it was ironic that these guys were living out the past when he constantly mentions being the first undisputed champion. He said that he's been fired twice, yet he's still there, and he still won't shut up. Like at this point, Jericho's been gone, he's been fired twice, yet he still doesn't understand what's up. Cena wasn't in the business of making him apologize, that's already happened. Stephanie McMahon already did it a month earlier. He was gonna shut him up in the ring. Did he? Yeah. It was a good match as well and portrayed Cena as the unstoppable champion ahead of the Chamber. The thing is though, the Chamber looked so out of depth. What I mean by that is other than Chris Jericho and Ray, the others didn't seem to have a chance, and even Ray looked a bit inferior to John Cena in terms of chances. Here, Jericho brought the win for his team and gained some momentum ahead of the Chamber. And like I said, on paper, it didn't look like a memorable Chamber match, but man, was that far from the truth. Before the match, Chris Jericho said that he wanted to win the title and face Ric Flair at WrestleMania. Why? so he can give him the chance to become the 17-time champion. He was lying about that. He didn't want to face him. He just wanted to give him hope before tearing him down. All he promised here, though, was to win the chamber match. He was right about winning the title in the chamber match, but it just wasn't this year. About the match, poor Kofi Kingston never even got a chance to greet the competitors because Edge dropped him and stole a spot in the chamber. At this point, the chances of Cena winning drastically go down, and the crowd was all in. Ray, though, wasn't too happy about this, and this was a great move. As unfortunate as it is for Kofi, Edge's inclusion made the match even more interesting. The match, it needed all the star power it could get and gave a feeling of, damn, anything could happen. The trio of Edge, Jericho, and Mysterio really carried hard here. They made work of Mike Knox and Edge, leaving only the champ. And when he did come in, he was like, on behalf of Kofi Kingston, I bestow upon you this ass kingdom. But Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, and Edge spoiled his plans and sent him out. New champion guaranteed, and to top it all off, it was either one of these three. It's a top 5 chamber moment because of how sudden it came, and I don't think anybody doubted Edge would win here after the elimination. One thing for certain, though, is that nobody expected Cena to go out like that. He rolled out of there in disbelief, and at this point, everyone wanted Rey to win it. He had the crowd on his side. Jericho, he sent him packing, but Edge was a bigger problem. He had this handled, and to the surprise of everybody, he was the World Heavyweight Champion. Great match. I loved how everything turned out. One small tweak turned this into an iconic chamber match. Overall, John Cena started, hell no, we're not done yet. This video's only just started. The next night on Raw, Edge came out as the new champion. He called himself remarkable, resplendent, and even really smart. This was all about describing what the R in rated R stood for. The fans started chanting, "You suck," and Edge explained his mindset after losing the WWE Championship. He said that failure wasn't an option for him. He started calling the fans wrong for calling him a loser the previous night and proclaimed himself as a walking miracle for competing in 2 chamber matches. He said that Jesus turned water into wine, and he turned the WWE Championship into the World Heavyweight Championship. Despite the controversy surrounding Kofi Kingston's spot in the Elimination Chamber, Vicky Guerrero confirmed that Edge was champion. They start kissing, and never before were the fans happier to see the former champion, John Cena. Bro wasn't even mad because he knew that title was coming back. Look at him. Cena congratulated Edge and said that others would have been complaining about it, but he didn't. Cena went on to say that rated R stands for rematch, and Edge started looking on like he didn't know the definition of that word. The champion uses 2 chamber matches as an excuse to not compete tonight, and even went as far as to say, I might not even compete for a month. He said that if he wants to see them, he should see them on SmackDown. For Cena, it was all about preparation. He wanted Edge at 100%, so he could go rest, do stuff with Vicky, stuff that certainly disgusts him, and revealed that he has a rematch. Edge made mention of their history in the Money in the Bank cash-in, and at this point, it felt like 10 years early. When they talk about this stuff, it feels like, damn, that was long ago. He's like, oh, what about when I visited your father's house? Talked about how they could mention rematches, but it doesn't change the fact that the champ is here. Cena grabbed him and told him that if he tries to hide, he'll find him. Regardless, they're gonna fight. Edge looked on and worried over this change of attitude from the former champion, and Cena the following week straight up told Vicky that he's cashing in his title shot tonight. Edge interrupted with the Big Show and put a stop to all this rematch talk. He compared Cena to Randy Orton at the time, who was threatening others to get what he wanted. John Cena told him, hey, be a champion and stop bringing out some excuses. He said that he doesn't have to answer to him. He told him that he can't be like Bruno, Hogan, or Austin because he's in the same era as him. He's like, oh, you can't be as good as those two because you're in my era. While he exists, Cena could never be the guy that the fans will want him to be. During this time of turmoil, he's the beacon of light, but for his sake, he should hold off the title match because when it happens and he loses, the fans will be left with nothing. Cena trashed him for standing next to a 400-pound beast, and of course, the Big Show. So basically, he's obviously referring to Vicky as that, and Cena said that he's one match away from being a future champion. All he wanted was a match. Big Show told him to show some respect to the G-Man, and this confused Cena. He's like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, you're the one that takes care of Vicky, even in bed. And Edge was pressed. Cena thought he was getting the match, but it turned out to be something else, as later that night, Vicky revealed that John Cena's not getting his title match. He of course expected this a bit and told her that he's losing his patience. He promised to appear on SmackDown. Vicky hyped up this family element like Edge was coming out, but it was Chavo Guerrero. Cena beat him in under a minute, and her reveal took longer than the match. As expected, he appeared on SmackDown, and at this point, it was very often, which I thought was cool at the time. I was like, damn, John Cena's on SmackDown? That's nice. He said that he was on SmackDown because a coward was champion. Once again, he demanded the title shot for tonight and refused to leave until he got an answer. Cena chants intensify, and there's Edge. At this point, he had enough and accepted the challenge. This is when Vicky announced the match wasn't happening, and he had a sense that this was going to happen. Instead of a title match, he got a match with the Big Show. That match barely went Cena's way, and just as he's about to wrap it up with the FU, Edge interfered, and it led to Big Show scoring the W, and unfortunately for him, this basically meant he put his name in the hat for a world title match. But Edge had to worry about John Cena because the title match was on for Raw. The sentiment was Edge felt that the title defense was an easy one after Cena got KO'd by the Big Show. He claimed that Cena had the advantage because they're close to his hometown, but it was clear what was up. He clearly had the advantage because of the incident that had occurred on SmackDown. As expected, the match was intense, dramatic, and it's what you expect out of a John Cena and Edge match. For Edge, though, it was a live to fight for another day thing because he got himself disqualified when he was caught in FU position. Right afterwards, though, he stared at his next challenger, which was unbeknownst to him until Vicky revealed it. And when he did notice, he realized that it was finished. Cena looked on in disappointment as well. It got to the point where Edge was feeling something was up with his wife in the Big Show, and he was also upset at being informed of his opponent at the same time as the fans. Big Show tried to shut this down and even went as far as to say that Vicky thinks he would be a better champion. Edge was offended. He didn't want Big Show to use the dominant card against him as he's an 8-time champion. He said that he's more talented, faster, smarter than him, and then he saw things differently. He's like, oh, I know why Vicky chose you. It's because she wanted me to have an easy challenge. Edge even claimed that he's more of a man than Big Show will ever be, and just as he's about to sign, John Cena interrupts. He wasn't interested in talking and attacked both men, and he then told Vicky something and walked away. Edge was prepared for the match. He wanted to sign, but Vicky delayed the contract signing until Raw. So it was clear that what Cena told her affected her in a big way. As expected, he crashed the contract signing. Edge told him to fuck off. He's not in this match, but then he asked Vicky, "You didn't tell him?" And then he revealed what's up. The champion wanted to double team him, but Vicky revealed that she invited Cena out here. Why? Because Cena's in the match, and the heels complained. Even then, he was forcing her to reveal the truth. And what was the truth? He loves Vicky. The fans were confused. Edge had that Booker T look, and he was talking about what the heart wants, and Edge started saying that he's playing with her feelings and that she's going to rip the contract. It was still unclear what was actually going on, and Cena thought, screw it. He admitted he doesn't like her. He mentioned that he hates the mere thought of her. Whatever. And then he mentioned that when he came to SmackDown, he came because he knew the security guy. And he showed a clip of Big Show sliding into her room with Edge in the shower. And this is the most Big Show storyline ever. The worst part was when she told him, "I hope you win at WrestleMania," and smacked his ass. Also, this image is meme quality, but I don't know why they were doing this, especially for a WrestleMania build, but whatever. Edge's true enemy was right beside him, and Cena finessed her by getting himself a title shot and screwing her over. Edge started to get into his wife's head and got her against Big Show, who reminded her that she was the one that pursued him first. So at this point, she was at a crossroads, either the Big Show or Edge. As for John Cena, he went one-on-one with the Rated R Superstar, and Vicky was the special referee. Big Show ended up interfering, and despite their issues, they worked to isolate Cena. From out of nowhere, though, Edge decked him and ended Raw on top. This drama was overshadowing John Cena, who was using it to his advantage. However, he said that when he wins, he doesn't want anything to do with Vicky Guerrero's heart. This was all in light of the truce between those two on SmackDown. He couldn't believe that the 500th episode of SmackDown was ending like this. Cena couldn't come to terms on how Edge just let this whole incident go and be cool with the Big Show. He thought it was odd, and he thought it was funny that Big Show was laughing when he's the same guy who helped Edge and got speared earlier that week. But the worst of them all, in his eyes, is how WrestleMania 25 is about who shares Vicky's infection. Yeah, he literally said that. Oh, man. Edge was sharing too much information here in Big Show as well, and those two were getting into it in the ring. Push comes to shove, they're fighting and Edge accidentally spears his wife. They're fighting over her like she's a stack of cash, and Edge chop blocked him, sending her flying. So Big Show chokeslammed him and carried her to the back. With Cena away in LA promoting 12 rounds, he read a poem about Vicky via satellite. As for Edge and Big Show, their drama was too damn intense. At this point, John Cena sold the importance of WrestleMania and how these three have tried to prevent him from participating. It got to the point where he had to resort to blackmailing. Why? Because he wanted to be a part of WrestleMania. Edge and Big Show's Jerry Springer last took the title hostage, and he was hell-bent on taking it back. Big Show wasn't too fond of Cena belittling his love with Vicky, and even said that love makes him stronger. Big Show challenged him to a match, and Cena was up for a fight. Before he could leave, though, Cena threw him like trash. On the final Raw before WrestleMania, John Cena once again faced the Big Show. Before the match, though, Edge came in with some advice. He hyped up the Big Show and told him that they have to team up in order to take him out. Otherwise, it's his match. He's going to win the title. Cena agreed, but still wanted to do things his way. In a surprise turn of events, Cena lost clean to the Big Show and took a beating from Edge afterwards. So that's the build. John Cena's pursuit of Raw's most coveted gold brought him to become entangled in a love triangle he wanted absolutely no part of. Yeah, you guys can have all your drama over there. I just want the title. Edge and Big Show want more than just the title. With Vicky comes love and, of course, power, and having the title is essentially a bonus. Of course, it was eventually revealed that Edge married her for that very same reason, but here, he made it seem like there was more to the relationship. Now, of course, this match in some ways is memorable, and unfortunately had to follow up HBK and The Undertaker, but it was solid and maybe even good. A million John Cena's came out as a future champ, embraced his inner Slim Shady, and after a build like that, and most importantly an entrance like this, the chances of Cena losing were about as likely as Triple H hitting a moonsault that night. The inclusion of Big Show felt a bit odd because because Cena and Edge is the ultimate WrestleMania match and would have looked great alongside Triple H and Orton, but it came down to Cena looking out for Big Show. He was very appreciative on WWE photo shoot and thought it was cool that John Cena was like, hey, we should bring you into this match too. It's a bit unfortunate that it never happened, but it's cool that it did in some capacity because some other feuds never get to that stage. Cena during the match was absolutely strong. His brute strength was on display for the world to watch, and for a little moment there, he had both Edge and the Big Show on his back. He was carrying like 600 or 700 pounds, and he dropped both of them with the FU. Won the title. Bro marched in there, had a special entrance, went through the drama and came out of it with the title. But overall, the match wasn't bad. It just had to follow up one of the greatest matches of all time. So that's Cena's second World Heavyweight Championship. The next night on Raw, he participated in a 10-man tag team match in a winning effort, and damn was this a super team. Jeff Hardy, CM Punk, Rey Mysterio, John Cena, and Ricky Steamboat. Damn! He had all of 2008's favorites in there. The champ's next challenger, though, was right beside him. On the April 10th, 2009 episode of SmackDown, Edge hosted The Cutting Edge. And to say this promo is amazing and memorable would be an understatement. It's literally the perfect description of this feud. Edge had a sense of bitterness on his face. He couldn't come to terms with the title not being on his shoulder. It was depressing to him, and he said it himself. He said that he hadn't slept in a week. Then he brought out his guest. Cena somewhat gloated about being the champ, and Edge explained why he brought him out. It was because that title is his life. He could struggle as long as he has that. Then he said that Cena stole the title from him, and he looked confused like he wanted to slap him straight, but Edge told him to sit down. The champ found this ridiculous and told Edge to get over himself. He said that you lost at WrestleMania. Then he shouted that Cena ruined his life, and he started talking about their past and how they went through hell. Cena felt this was an opportunity to talk about the rivalry, but he chose to whine about how he ruined his life, and to him, it was just a waste of time. And this is when Edge shouted, I hate you. He went on to explicitly explain why he hated John Cena. He hated everything about him. The wristbands, the shirt, the C Nation, and this feud exhausted him. He had enough. It took a lot from their careers, and Backlash was when it was going to end. At the end of that match, he's going to be the one left standing. Cena grabbed that mic and shouted no. Sure, Edge may be a better wrestler. Sure, he may be smarter than him, but Cena believed that he was desperate, and he was. He was desperate. He was showing it. His eyes, his face, everything screamed desperation, yet he's competing in a last man standing match. Cena straight up told him that he's tougher than him. That's why he's gonna be the last man standing, and that's why Edge hates him. He said that it wasn't the hat, the shirt, the wristbands, it's the truth. Every time he struck, John Cena got back up, and if he wants to end it, he should do it right now and hit him. Cena was craving a fight, but Edge was wise. His contempt and hatred for Cena was not enough to fight him on this night, and he truly looked like a lost person. That title gave him direction and meaning, and now he was nothing, and he knew it. I love this promo. It showed how deep this feud had gone, because usually Cena was the one chasing Edge who would be doing some dastardly stuff. Now he was the one chasing after him, and he lost his confidence. It was different and gave the feud more depth. It was more interesting. After making a joke out of Jack Swagger and his all-American catchphrase, Edge went on the attack. The attack, though, was thwarted, and Cena was on the verge of dropping him with the FU. Edge, though, rebounded the following week by attacking Cena and sending him a message ahead of Backlash. Jericho and Cena, though, had a good match here, which is expected because at the end of the day, it's Chris Jericho and John Cena. They did not have to hit it as hard as they did, but they did it for the crowd in London. Edge, though, interfered and had to ruin a good match. He even hit the concerto and started counting to 10, giving everyone a preview of what's to come at Backlash. On the final SmackDown before Backlash, Edge gave his final thoughts on the last man standing match. He agreed with almost everything John Cena said about him. He said that he's grasping at straws. He's lost his mind, and the match is going to be the unstoppable force against the irresistible object. He went on to talk about their feud and how Cena always rebounded. That all changed, though, on Raw. He said that what happened here will happen at Backlash. Edge praised Cena's resolve and said that he almost respects him, but he despises him with every fiber of his being. He said that he has nothing left, and losing on Sunday, that's it. Basically, he's desperate. Sunday, they lay it all out for the last time. It was far too chaotic and damaging to their careers. It has to come to an end. Edge said that in the end, he will be the last man standing. Great promo. What makes this so good is that Edge wasn't the regular heel anymore. His pride was damaged beyond repair. Well, almost, because the one thing that could fix his problem, remove his woes, and set him free is that very title on John Cena's shoulder. The build was extremely strong and showed a different side to the feud, because for the past few years, barring that 1 month in the summer of 2008, Edge was always confident and trashing the fans, talking about how good he was. Now, he was still saying that he was good, but you felt there was doubt. All because of John Cena, the one man he couldn't truly keep down for long. In some ways, this match at Backlash could be considered their very best. It had that storybook ending vibe to it, and it felt like this was going to be the final time that they actually face off. And if they were to face off later on, which they did, it wouldn't be as heated as it was here. Edge's big match experience was helping him here. Cena struggling to match and was finding himself trying to get up at the count of 7. As always, you can never truly write out John Cena. Both men displayed resiliency during the toughest periods. They were pulling out all the stops. Cena was hitting the FU from the top. Edge was hitting a midair spear. There was an FU into the crowd. They were welding. Hell, they even brawled in the crowd. But that tenacity John Cena was known for started to frustrate Edge. Cena recovered from a dastardly chair shot and almost hit the FU, but then the Big Show came in from out of nowhere and threw him into a spotlight. Edge was more than accepting of this gift from the Big Show, and he was now the new World Heavyweight Champion. A man almost died, and Edge was worried about his reflection on the title. I thought this match was excellent. These two could do no wrong together, and after countless matches over the years, they perfected their chemistry, so it's expected to be good. Could I have done without interference? Of course, but that spot was cool in itself. For Edge, he was off to SmackDown, and Cena, he was involved in 2 feuds he didn't ask for. The next night on Raw, The Miz came out. He bragged about his accomplishments and then called out John Cena. Apparently, his match was scheduled for this night, but the former champ was unable to appear. Cena's music played, and there he was. Miz took this as Cena being a coward and started trashing him in an effort to bring him out. He then says that Cena says, "You can't see me." He agrees, and he said that he can't see him because his movies aren't in theater long enough. The Miz had enough of the same wrestlers main eventing and said that he's going to grab the brass ring. He then claimed this as a victory, saying the Miz won, John Cena 0. Later that night, Big Show faced Batista in a #1 contenders match. Despite his injury the previous night, John Cena showed up and bro didn't know what arena he was in. All he knew was that he wanted to fight. Big Show wanted to focus on the match, and after wasting too much time, he lost by countout. Even though Cena was around, the Miz wasn't backing off. He questioned Cena's self-respect and challenged him once again, and this was more than enough to get his attention. After the commercial break, there was still no Cena. He made fun of his movies. Miz called him nothing more than hype for the Kiss to Scream for, and unlike him, he's the most talented wrestler on Raw. Still no Cena, and at this point, the Miz made himself 2 to John Cena 0. But there he was. The Big Show, though, was right behind him, and he was looking for a fight, and John Cena got it. He was beaten and battered, and to make matters worse, he was unable to compete until Judgment Day. So I had to face The Miz in an exhibition match. What's that? A match that finishes when the GM says so. Miz said that this isn't 12 rounds, so everyone's gonna see it. And said that his rap album sucked. Cena's form was off, but he managed to fight back, and Vicky stopped the match. Once he turned around, the Miz hit the DDT, and Big Show left with a smile on his face. Despite his injury, Cena refused to complain, saying everyone goes through hard times, and like everyone else, he has to adapt and overcome. He said that he wasn't going to Judgment Day to compete, he was going to win. Their match at Judgment Day was not good at all. It was dull and uninspiring. They had better matches on Raw, and it also had to do with how John Cena had to fight back. He was booked to suffer more here in light of the injuries, and the work wasn't interesting. I also think the Big Show should have won this because the feud continued. He had a substantial advantage over Cena, and it made sense for him to win here. But he didn't. Cena said that the critics were silenced, and those who believed could hold on to that sense of pride, knowing that he didn't let them down. And he told Batista and Randy Orton, may the best man win. It's only a matter of time before the champ is here. Later that night, The Miz once again came out, but this time he was dressed as John Cena. He came out to Basic Thugonomics, which was censored. I don't know why, because it was... I think it was because it was early PG WWE. He said that he made a remix to Word Life, which was called Nerd Life. Oh, hell no. The most memorable part was when he referenced Steve Urkel, but the rhymes were terrible. As expected, when he called him out, he didn't come out, and it was The Miz 5, John Cena 0. Bro, stat padding. They crossed paths the following week, Lakers, Nuggets. I mean, if you know the story, it makes sense why the Nuggets are heels. But as expected, he interacted with both Miz and the Big Show. It wasn't much, though. Ahead of Extreme Rules, John Cena had to face those two in tag team action. His partner, Chavo Guerrero. The Miz compared Cena to Hannah Montana and called himself a winner, trashing the audience. The match did not go Cena's way, and Big Show showed that he got the edge in the submission match. The match once again was boring. It lasted for too long, and it was all about whether or not Cena could keep the SCFU locked in. He eventually did, and me talking about this match is very unnecessary because it dragged on and on. Cena moved on and focused on the one person that was constantly annoying him, The Miz. The next night on Raw, The Miz was scheduled to face Cena. He tried to respond to the doubters that claim he's been ducking him and said that he's in the ring. He claimed that Cena was the one avoiding him, and he called the fans John Cena apologist and also called them pathetic. For The Miz, he was lucky because the Big Show decided to interfere once again in an attack. This greatly pissed him off, though, because he brought in a chair and made an enemy out of the Big Show before finishing off Cena himself. On this incident, Cena said that he's been worse, but he doesn't remember the last time. He thought that the Big Show problem was solved, but it turns out he was wrong, and he told him that they're going to settle it. As to The Miz, he was well aware of what he was trying to do, and he respects that a little, but he had a problem with The Miz talking the talk and letting others do his dirty work. Cena promised that he'll come face to face with him as well, and About these things, yeah, Big Show and John Cena did come face to face, but it wasn't a one-on-one match. It was a fatal four-way for the WWE Championship. Cena did a lot of work to put the Big Show down, and he did it with the FU, but then Orton came in and dropped the Giant with an RKO before reclaiming his title. This also allowed John Cena to have 100% attention undivided on The Miz. He faces the Big Show in the main event, so now he could talk face-to-face with The Miz. He called him a coward, which Cena thought was ironic. So The Miz was like, you know what, I'm going to come down to the ring and tell you straight to your face. And he did just that. Cena's like, okay, I'll give you what you want. He congratulated him for the chance. He said that the good news is that The Miz will main event a pay-per-view when he faces John Cena. The bad news, Miz will main event a pay-per-view match when he faces John Cena. He had enough of him coming out here for 2 months trying to rattle him. Those insults are nothing compared to what he went through in the past. And rattled is when you get struck in the face and you're numb. It's when you see all these people looking at you and realize you brought a knife to a gunfight. He said that 6 days until he finds out that the real world has been canceled. 6 days when he realizes he's not a reality show has-been, he's a WWE never was. Clearly this got to The Miz. His ego was hurt, and Cena told him to pray to whatever he believes in that he makes it out in one piece. Miz delivers a cheap shot and makes a run for it, and he eventually returned during Cena's match with the Big Show and tried to make a statement. He hid from the Big Show and then continued where he left off. The Miz's ambition of being a huge star brought him to the point where he was pressing the WWE's big dog. It was very, very, very far-fetched, and if anything, it was stupid, but Miz was up for it. So what happened? He got jobbed out in 5 minutes. That's literally it. That's the story. John Cena destroyed him and went on to focus on the WWE Championship. So this is where I'm going to end the video. If you're like, why don't you continue? I think this was a perfect place to end it. Thought it was cool. I was actually going to end it after he lost that No Way Out, but I was like, nah, it doesn't make sense. John Cena was back. He was much better than he was in 2008. His positioning on the card, his matches. I didn't really like the Big Show feud. It dragged a bit, you know. Plus, he should have lost that Judgment Day because it would have made the feud a bit more interesting. But his feud with Edge was very good. It provided the feud closure. The Miz thing was kind of interesting, but he just literally slapped him and moved on. Jericho feud, I wish it was a bit longer, but it is what it is, so yeah. My favorite match from this entire run has to be the Backlash match because of how intense it was, you know? Felt like the end of the feud, and they went all out. It was good, so yeah.